Good morning, everyone. How is everyone? We've got the alien drone service in the house. G'day, mate. G'day, Richard. Tracy, how are you? Heinrich, good to see you, mate. New Zealand citizens, especially vegetarians and vegans, to be burp fart taxed next. uh, you're right, actually. Excess energy, excess methane production. You're right. They should be taxed. Uh, Starting with their Prime Minister. Well, you don't have to worry, Richard. You're a carnivore, You'll have tax exemption. They'll be just wondering, how does this person not do it, not emit as much? You'll be a low emission human. There you go, a new classification. Yes. I had a very fishy break today. Weird craving. Oh, look, I mean, I remember Bart saying that he had a really a strong craving for fish once, and I've had as well. It may be that our body may be wanting more DHA, EPA. That's the sort of theory that when you crave a certain food, you're craving certain nutrients. Don't know. We've never done the experiments to really know, but it's a plausible reason why it happens. When you're craving certain foods, you're craving certain nutrients potentially. That's how the theory goes. Whether it's exactly that or not, yes, we do not have lock-in studies, and we'll never have lock-in studies of that sort and duration to assess those things. I had some beef bacon. Actually, I bought. I think it was 5. Hello Kitty will remember. I think it was 5 bits. Still got 2 left, but I had one day where I just binged. So eggs and beef bacon. Oh, that was lovely. Yes. Skinless. Ugh. We don't want skinless stuff. Actually, a friend of mine, she's just started working at a school. She's an accountant, and she's doing some working within their administration area. But yeah, she's had a lot of lurgies like that, and she's been exposed to a lot of different things recently. Yeah, so it's a bit like doctors and people that work in those sort of environments they will tend to basically, but that's how, if you think about it, going back in tribal societies, that's what would have been. People would have been very close, kids, grandkids, middle-aged people, everyone together, very close, in close proximity, exchanging a lot of different organisms. It actually makes you more robust as a consequence. So, in that regard, so you're getting some robustness from your grandson. Stop complaining. I'm not doing too bad. I'm doing okay. I've just been dealing with a whole lot of non-Harry issues, family, work, and a lot of other different non-Harry issues. I wish I was dealing with some of my own issues. Yeah, don't seem to have much time nowadays to deal with Harry issues. It's always some somebody else's or something else. Anyway, stop complaining. Nobody's listening, as they say. G'day, Bart. Good to see you, mate. Yes, unfortunately, what's been happening with you and the YouTubia yes, sensor board. Yes, I hope things get better on that front. Thank you. Or even do it precisely the right way. Welcome to the Fishy Tales. God almighty. I'm not even going to touch that with even a short or long barge pole, just to be safe. Keep completely away from it. G'day, Lukey. Oops. Don't know. Probably all the mods turned up. Oh, it's a good sign anyway. I'm usually having a few more people. Maybe last week, taking a day off. Everybody thought, oh, Harry's probably going to be away. Jin, g'day, mate. Now they're counting. Now you've got them counting. Do you realise that? It's all I bloody need. Mods counting. Caps lock. Amateur time at home. G'day, Raymond. Just like a secret bingo. Trust Richard to come up with something, an analogy of that sort. Grey spotting. Oh, I got plenty of greys. Yeah, it took me many years but eventually the greyness got me. Family. What do they call the Pottinger's cat thing? 3 generations or whatever, you get certain things. But I still didn't get in my mid-30s. I didn't go grey in my mid-30s like my sisters. I think they went grey in their late 30s. My cousins in their mid-30s, my mum in her mid-30s or early 30s. I can't even remember. But it took me a while, 20 extra years. So not bad in that regard. I outdid them, maybe because I was consuming more meat compared to them. Maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not claiming anything whatsoever. Deborah, how are you? But, g'day, Gary. How are things in WA, mate? Zero let Harry out of the cage on time today. Yes, that evil fellow. He'll be around later on today. You're getting the bad weather coming across. We had that a couple of days back. It's been on and off, Today's not a bad day. It's actually quite sunny. Sun's coming through the window, so it's getting me slightly. It was getting me in the eyes earlier. Now it's stopped getting me in the eyes, which is a good thing because it annoys me. Remember once I was so severe, I had to wear sunnies on weird. so intense. But anyway, it does happen. Sort of closer to the window, so saves me on power bills. I don't have to turn the lights on. I can safely say I have never craved fish. Haven't you, Scotty? Maybe you don't like it. That could be another thing. Could be you miss it or you don't miss it. Yes, many reasons. Counting the mods. Fishy break reminds me of the ones my mum used to make on Sundays. Kippers, eggs, and fried banana. HD, how are you, mate? Harry is dealing with a bout of it's from ice cream, another relapse I see. A bout of it from ice cream. I actually did have a relapse, but it was through the week, not now. It was through the week. I succumbed. I failed one day. I actually bought it, put it in the fridge, see whether I could. Don't know why I bought it. Yeah, I have one of those moments, trying to resist, but failing. None of us are perfect. Yes. It will teach you not to do that. It's probably the alcohol sugars sometimes. If you've binged quite a bit, I remember binging on. That's what I forgot about, the alcohol sugars. The alcohol sugars can actually cause a bit of IBS type symptoms. Yes, I really binged once and ended up with a lot of, let's say, looseness and a few other things. Just to make that point out, they do cause a lot of was it spartan, xylitol causes it in large amounts. Maltodextrin, I think it is. Quite a few of them actually do cause a bit of if you actually constantly consume alcohol sugars, they can cause a number of bowel issues and even play around with the gut microbiome. So it can be an issue. Hello, kitty. I'm on my I've only got 2. I've actually binged on my beef bacon, so I've only got 2 left, and I did promise them tomorrow at the barbecue that I'm having with Sean. So, yes, it's a family get together. So, yeah, should have probably gone and bought some more today. Anyway, didn't get up early enough. I'm the whingy kid pom. God. There's always one, isn't there? Tracy. There's always one. Damn non-Harrys. Goddamn non-Harrys. I've got plenty of issues. Plenty of issues. You should know that. You know me quite well. Just don't tell them. Luke, how are you, mate? G'day. Would like your opinion, wisdom on structured water. I'm going to do a video on that. I think somebody asked me last time. I did say I'm going to do a video. I'll leave that for a video. In my opinion, because I need to show things to basically base my views on that. But I'll wait. I've also got a retinol one this week, which I haven't. I've got all the stuff in the folders, but I still haven't bloody done that either. So hopefully I get that done on. Yeah, I'm not going to promise anything. I did say either it was going to be the end of last week, which I didn't have any time, or it's going to be sometime this week. So the coming week, that is. but I do have something in the works in regards to that. So I don't want to give too much away at this stage. You'll have an absolute video with my opinion on it. So I want to leave it until then. That salute was a bit of a dad's army, mate. Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm getting older. Long fishing. God, God. G'day, Pat. Been caught a lot of things. Hey, Harry. Yes, I do have more hair than many of my, oh, God almighty, many of my other relatives. So that's a good thing as well. Went grey later, have more hair. So more reasons for them to hate me or be disagreeable with me at least. G'day, Cecile. What does cause a high metabolism? A lot of things. A lot of things. It's going to be lean body mass. So depending on your lean body mass, muscularity, that can actually affect the level. It can, you can be on a vagunarized diet and actually be tearing down your muscles, and you could be running a higher metabolism until you basically crash and crash out of that diet as well. So if you're on something like a fruitarian diet, there can be thyroid issues relating to it, like hypothyroidism. Sometimes caffeine can actually increase it as well. That's why people put into energy drinks, they have all these caffeines in order to increase their metabolic rate. And some people in keto, to enhance their metabolic rate in keto, they use caffeine. So there's a lot of things that can actually cause it. Usually caffeine will also be associated with things like higher heart rate. I don't know how much coffee. I know you do. You're a bit of a coffee buff. You like your coffees. Don't know how much you consume. So there's going to be a lot of things that can actually cause that, both healthy and non-healthy things. You could have poor mitochondrial function and end up in a very glycolytic state as well, breaking down tissue. So, because it can be both a catabolic and anabolic state. It really depends on a whole lot of substrates of different energy inputs, plus lean body mass, plus bone density, because it's not only the muscles, it's also the bone density. Usually they go hand in hand. So there's a lot of different factors that can actually play on that. It's a very open-ended question. I should do actually a video on that as well. I don't know whether Bart's got one or not. I should ask him, do you have one, mate? I'll add it to my list of things to do. 12 and counting. I only have a few wisdom at and almost 54. So you're 2 years younger than me. I'm just here for the fishing and the bad one-liners. Well, me and Richard could provide you with a whole lot of bad one-liners. I suspect Bart as well, especially Bart. He's got a lot of one-liners for the misanthropists. We have rain in Tasman region for the last week, Richard. Okay. Yeah, we had that. We sent it on to you guys. So we went through that sort of period. So yeah, it's been today's not. Yesterday was supposed to be raining, but it only rained in the afternoon. Luckily, I went down for a walk down to Salamanca. Then I just had one coffee with my brother, and then I said, I'm going. So I walked back midday, and by the time I got back, It was about 2 o'clock. I'm usually down there until 3, because that's when the market finishes and they start packing up all their equipment and all that, usually. So, yeah, I sort of decided, "No, bugger it, I'm going." Because I was so busy flat out, I could hardly get a bit any you don't get a chat to socialise. So I said, "Nah, bugger, I'm not sitting here just looking at a whole lot of strangers, so buggered off." And luckily, I did that, because the moment I actually got into the door, a couple of minutes later, it started bucketing down. So I'm going, "Oh, that was close." So, yeah, I know it's been a bit like that for the last couple of days, on and off, on and off. Today's about, it's quite sunny out there at the moment. Quite a bit of sun's coming through, but at the moment, but we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the day. I do have to go over the old man's as well, so he's expecting me. Got an invite. Come around. I've got a feed for you. Probably some duties as well. So, yes, he had a tree fall down and stuff like that, and all sorts of bloody issues with his garden. So, uh, he's been a bit manic about cleaning things up and getting things sorted. So, yes, older people and their demands. It has been cloudy for nearly a week. I'm annoyed. Yeah, but it's bloody warm. It'd be bloody warmer where you are, Lukey, in Brazil compared to Tassie, New Zealand. Yes. I mean, I've been forced, even though I don't regularly, I sort of have quite a lot of good tolerance to cold. That's the word. But yeah, I've had to turn the heater on a couple of times. Only do 2 or 3. The dial goes all the way up to 6, but yeah, it's been a bit on the chillier side some nights. Bloody hell, one night I actually put it up to 5. So we had like frost, severe. It was technically the cold was below 0 in Celsius, that is. So it really, people can do their own conversion. I'm not going to bother. Yeah, so it was quite bloody cold. And yeah, it was. I usually, even in winter, I'm wearing just a shirt. I'm off to work, but this time I had to put a coat on. Not a thick coat, but a coat anyway. So yeah. The problem is I took it out and I'm going, this should have been aerated. so, so it still had a bit of, when you've hung clothes for a very long time, and I'm going, you know what I mean. Annoying. Oh, thunder and lightning. God, that would have been very exciting for you, Richard. God, stop complaining. All that entertainment. At least it's entertaining. Cloud seeding. God, it's the aliens cloud seeding with Bill Gates. They're in cahoots. Yes, but you didn't get the light show. But yes, some miss out. It's the way it is. Sao Paulo is known as the land of fog and rains. So not usual for us to have clouded winters. Okay. Fog and rains. Okay. Yeah, because you've got those sort of wet season periods and stuff like that. We get a lot of fog down here as well in Hobart, but this happens in winter. The whole river sometimes just gets very foggy. I used to be in a different part of North Hobart, in a sort of a lower part, and I would get out of my place in the morning, and it just would be fog. I'd literally be walking through thick fog. But that was further down there, closer to the domain, closer to the river. I'm further up now, so we don't get much up here. But when I do walk down, I look right down into Federal Street, I can see all this fog really early in the morning sometimes. Yeah. So it's a bit like that. Fog is cool. Oh, well, some people appreciate it. Hanging fog can be eerie. Depends. I think I'm getting hot flushes from eating tuna sometimes. I wonder if there's an allergic reaction or in relation to a specific nutrient in it. Interesting. Never heard somebody getting a hot flush from tuna. Must be something that is triggering it. Because it seems like a potential histamine type reaction that you're getting. G'day, Jared. How are you,
Hello,
mate?
Harry. Good. How are you?
Ever had a reaction to tuna, mate?
To tuna specifically?
Yeah.
I don't know the last time that I ate just tuna, so I couldn't say.
Oh, I love to have tuna steaks
Okay.
and then put butter on them with lemon juice.
Yeah, we do get tuna a little bit here and there for our cats,
Okay.
but we should eat it next time we buy some.
Yeah, I sort of because we've got bluefin tuna down in the Southern Ocean, so I have gone and fished and stuff like that. So yeah, most of it ends up in Japan, very expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive here. I mean, I guess it's coming from pretty far away, so
Yeah, exactly.
it's
So
like, you get like a little steak like this big for like $8 or something.
okay, yeah, it's way more expensive. It's cheaper down here, which is an advantage because we're close to it. So that's the sort of difference. But
Hot flushes. I have gotten like hot flashes from eating foods before. Beef heart will do that to me sometimes,
okay.
but not always, not consistently. So I don't know. It could be something transient, Luke.
I mean, there is more. You get a slightly higher. Have you ever had anything like eating a lot of eggs? Has that ever caused anything in terms of flushing, hot flushes?
Uh,
Ever?
yeah. I mean, I used to. I think when I first started carnivore, more often I would feel really quite warm after I ate,
Okay.
but not
Yeah.
like flushing in my face, not like any redness or anything like that.
Warm. Yeah.
Usually that might be associated with like a histamine type response, but
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's usually a histamine response to some allergen or some sort of thing. And sometimes people, when they do have like a fish intolerance, or even if it's mild, they sometimes have also an egg intolerance. It seems to be the same sort of people. But obviously, we can't extrapolate without testing and things like that. We're just speculating to be precise and oh God, men yes, Richard would have to descend into the gutter. Yes, you can come on and actually pester him, Lukey.
yeah, Luke,
Yeah.
stand up for yourself.
Exactly. Come
He's
in.
just waiting until he cools down enough to put a shirt on.
That's it. That's probably the reason. Otherwise, we don't want to. Yes, we don't want to excite the female fish. Oh God.
Well,
When Richard's in the chat room, there's going to be a few of those things.
Only to be expected.
hey, Luke.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Very well. How are things in Brazil?
Well, I guess mostly fine. And as I said in a previous comment, I'm really getting mad about the fact that it's really cloudy lately and the sun is really weak. But See what Richard is doing?
You're turning into the Abe Simpson meme. Old man yells at clouds.
Yep, basically. But yeah,
Hello, Bruce.
I've been seeing some people having issues in certain cities, like claiming that you can't even visit factories or things of the sort if you don't have the job card or something like that, you know. But honestly, all the talk about it has died down mostly. Only a few establishments may require something, but there's no government mandate. There's no, like, it has suspiciously gone away entirely. It's weird.
Yes, more hairy than some of my other relatives that are losing their hair. Anyway, well, you know, when you have family get-togethers, you got to basically, you know, make that obvious.
Point out the things they're self-conscious about.
Yeah, exactly. Things like that. Precisely. You know, remember, you're always competing with your rallies to some extent.
I don't want to compete with my relatives on some things that they're
No,
doing.
yeah, me neither. Me neither. Definitely not. So, yes, their diet and their lifestyle is very different.
Different's a nice word. Very diplomatic.
Well, you know, you gotta be, because you never know, they may actually listen to the damn thing.
I'm fairly certain none of my family none of them are clever enough to watch Harry Serpanos.
Fair enough. But you
Yes.
never know. Mine aren't in that regard. They tend to be professional people. But
Do you
anyway,
ever compete with them over who watches more Harry Serpanos?
God, I'm not even going to make a comment about that. But yeah, I mean, we do have the occasional conversation and stuff like that. They do try a few things out. I know my cousin, she's first cousin from mum's side, and without mentioning her name, she's basically a pharmacist, works for multinationals and stuff like that. She's actually trying taurine and stuff like that. So, you know, so she's open-minded to, you know, she's both. Her brother was also in the medical field. He's a specialist doctor. So I do have people like that in the family, which I do interact and have conversations. So the nice thing is they do respect a lot of my opinions, and so they are not closed-minded. But I would say that it's like a lot of people; they're just not willing to make any changes dramatic in their life. Just give me some biohacks, Harry, and I'll move on. Type approach. But it's the way most people are. It's just the reality. Yeah, actually, it does actually increase people when they do consume higher doses of taurine. They will feel warmer inside. Most people, you know, they'll tend to actually that does seem to have an effect on a lot of people, even myself to some extent, and many others. But it's a proxy for meat. You know, when you traditionally, that would mean you would be consuming far more meat to get that extra taurine, and so potentially, we don't know the mechanisms, potentially has some sort of effect. But I haven't been able to find any research explaining, you know, I've found research showing other mechanisms, but never really this sort of effect, but they've never looked into it. So it's sort of more anecdotes than anything else amongst people, and it varies quite a bit. So whether it's yeah, I'm not going to even speculate because we don't really know. We just know it's anecdotes amongst people. So it's simple as that. And we know when you actually consume quite a bit of meat, you will get the similar effect. You do get that sort of thermic effect. So whether it's, I'm thinking about, you know, brown adipose tissue, because it does seem to influence the Beijing, but then it's not clear. The literature is not very clear in that regard.
Oh, so I can't add brown fat to the list of benefits from taurine.
And no, I can't. I'm not at this stage. I haven't been able to find something convincingly in terms of actual mechanisms. It just seems to be associated, but associates,
Can we just start a
and
separate list of things that it may do so I can still keep adding things?
And you just play like the Imperial March and it's the list of benefits,
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it sort of explains why people in tribal areas, they can sleep outdoors or out on because in the evenings, it cools down in arid regions. But these people are very tolerant of that sort of those differences in sort of the temperatures. I'm not claiming anything, but it seems to be associated. But exactly, who knows in that regard. It's like a lot of things. There's not enough research out there. You'll find a bit of some mechanisms in specific areas. It's like that stuff, about the gut microbiome, how it sorts it out. Like even when they were infusing interleukin-18 into the animals to basically see this, you were getting the antimicrobial peptides, so the AMPs as we call them, we'll just call them that, to basically correct the gut microbiome, rebalance it to be, so that's all that was, and we know that taurine actually drives that. So there is a mechanism there being proven. So we don't need to, and taurine is a proxy for meat because that's the source, it's prime source. And it sort of explains why people who go on an all-meat diet improve their gut microbiome, and why people that go on a veganerized diet do the exact opposite and have all these gut issues. So there's good mechanisms there in that regard. And I think that's one of the most important things, I think, when it comes to the animal foods, that they really help improve the general functioning of the human body. It's like they were meant to be, the sort of species appropriate foods. Yes. Who might have claimed that? You know more about this, Lukey, so.
No, yeah, he was asking me about details about the region and stuff, but
okay.
So yeah, basically, so the Great São Paulo area is cities that are directly connected to the capital of my state, and that form, yeah. So this is a major hub because in this area alone, I think like 12% of the whole population lives, the whole population of the country. So yeah,
that's quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot of people. Yeah, yeah, that's a big place. Definitely a big place. iNature, g'day, mate. Good to see you here. So, what's been happening with in Canada, Jared?
Lately, I've been following the developments behind Bill C-11, the efforts of the federal government to regulate online platforms like YouTube underneath of the CRTC, which is the Canada Radio and Television and Telecommunications Commission or something like that. Anyway, they're just the federal body that regulates radio and TV. And basically, they're acting like a bunch of dinosaurs and trying to put internet platforms underneath of the same regulations, which include things like minimum criteria for Canadian content, Canada or CanCon criteria, they're called here.
Yeah, well, there's another character that's actually suffering the censorship board.
So basically, they're just using this narrative of the big boogeyman American culture is coming for Canada. Canadian culture is getting Americanized, and really, it's a thinly veiled reason to just censor the internet and prevent you from finding whatever results that they don't want you to
Okay.
find.
So on the one hand, they're actually selling it as, oh, we're protecting Canadian culture.
Hmm.
What they mean is they're protecting it's a protection racket for their own political views to
Yes.
justify that. Yeah.
So I actually just watched a great video on this by a YouTuber called JJ McCullough. JJ, it's MCCULLOUGH for anyone who wants to look him up. He's a Canadian YouTuber on the other side of the country from me. He's in BC, but he has been hammering about this, and specifically he was called to testify at the parliamentary committee hearings about this bill. So when they debate a bill on a second reading, it gives the opportunity for each party to call witnesses for and against the bill. But the number of witnesses called and the number of party members on the committee is dependent on the proportion of the House of Commons at the time. So, of course, the Liberals, being the majority, got to call more witnesses and have more MPs there to debate it. In total, there were 9 witnesses called. 8 of them were in favor of the bill. And the only person speaking to the potential drawbacks of this massive, unprecedented, far-reaching censorship was this little YouTuber named JJ McCullough, and he knocked it out of the park.
Okay.
He did a really, really good job.
So in sort of what way did you?
Just he was only given the chance to speak. They give like a 5-minute opening statement or something like that, and then there's very loosely structured. It's called debate, but it's actually just like back and forth talking points between the politicians, of course. But he got about 3 separate really good sound bites out of it that reached like 5 or 7 minutes long, basically just eviscerating the rationale for why this bill should ever need to exist. And one of the Liberal MPs very, very disingenuously tried to mischaracterize what JJ was trying to say, and then tried to slander him by bringing up completely unrelated issues. Like, we found an article that said that you don't believe in bilingualism, which wasn't within the scope of the debate at all. And he actually held his ground against that very, very well.
Yeah, it's weird, the sort of arguments that they do put up, which is quite spurious.
Well, it was funny because the MP said, "Oh, I watched this a couple of times. I didn't catch it the first time, but JJ got in this really, really good jab where the MP questioned him and purposely was, again, mischaracterizing what he was saying. He said, I don't understand why you're saying that this bill is about ideologically motivated censorship and thought control." And JJ's response, "Well, I didn't say thought control."
Oops, Freudian slip.
Yes, but on top of that, it also may not be so much beyond the Freudian slip potential. There's also the other side that you have to think about, that they're also trying to demonize the person by adding words that the person never said.
That's absolutely right. They're trying to create a soundbite for their bought and paid for media in the CBC to be able to report on and say, look at this hateful, bigoted, uninformed YouTuber who's biased and testifying in it. Yeah, it's just crazy to me that, and this is supposed to be like the highest level of debate in Canadian government. Like, this is where laws happen, right, at a parliamentary committee, and they have 8 quote unquote witnesses there to testify, and every single one of them was basically just a high-ranking executive for an organization that would benefit from this bill.
Yeah,
exactly. It's just naked lobbying and power grabs. And then one YouTuber who the Conservatives got to call in opposition for this, and they called the right person, I would say. Like, he did an excellent job.
Oh, that's good.
It's so dispiriting to me to see that can even be called a robust conversation, let alone a debate around an issue, right?
No,
that they can have 8 for and 1 against. Like, come on.
I think around the world, this is what's been happening to a large extent. They're doing 2 things at the same time. On the one hand, people that basically don't follow the narrative are trying to be silenced or made out as being crackpots of one sort or another. So they're putting words in their mouth, and deliberately trying to undermine them. And on the other hand, you've got the entire officialdom and media and all this just singing the same tune. It's scary.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I've never seen the media being so compliant. And you would think the people coming, I actually, somebody asked me, and I said, I think that what's happening in universities is starting to reflect our societies. So universities are becoming so extremely, hotbeds for this sort of thinking.
Yep.
And then it's actually, as these people are getting employed in the media and other areas like that, they no longer are critical media thinkers like the past.
Jordan Peterson's been warning about this for 5 years. He was calling that would happen in 2016, 17.
Yeah. And that's really what we're seeing. We're seeing it's no different than we've seen in certain authoritarian regimes in the past, where you educate those going through the academic, through the sort of those schooling that are going to be the future leaders, so to speak. And we've seen that through Davos and many other organizations, where they are breeding a generation of people with an ideological agenda. And
well,
they are
fully
pushing
half
very
of
hard.
Trudeau's cabinet are graduates of the World Economic Forum Young Leaders program.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
And
but
that
in terms
tells
of
you everything.
in terms of the media being very, very silent on these things, or very complicit, I mean, in Canada we have CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and they're funded to the tune of $1 billion a year of tax money, and they toe the party line. They're no better than the Pravda of Canada.
And they were supposed to be independent. The whole purpose is.
So I did
here in Australia, we've got what is called the ABC.
Yeah.
And the ABC had a similar sort of charter that they would basically have an independent voice where they could bring other people on who had controversial, contraring opinions and views on different programs. But you don't see that anymore. They're very selective who they invite, and they're no different than the actual commercial media now. Even the voices that used to, in the past, if you go back like 20 years, you'd have controversial voices coming on to certain programs. You don't see them anymore. They've gone. They've been removed.
I grew up with CBC. Like, the CBC radio was always on in my household as a kid, getting ready, because they would have a morning show for an hour, and they would state the time allowed, so you didn't have to have a clock. So while you're going about your morning routine, you would know what time it was every 10 minutes or whatever. And it was also just decent programming for the news and such. So I mean, they held a place near and dear to my heart for a long time, and I used to believe very strongly in the potential value, I should say, of a state-funded media, because
Me too.
can act as a bulwark against corporate media, against
Precisely
other influences. They're the counterbalance to the private sphere getting what they want all the time. Exactly, but they're not anymore, because they're not holding the government accountable, and they're only pushing the narrative that the government wants to push.
Yeah.
But the worst part is that in Canada specifically, Trudeau funded the other media as well, to the tune of $600 million in salary subsidies. And the information for which organizations received how much is being kept secret, on the justification of it being tax information that they can't release. So it's essentially there's no media in Canada that you can trust. Certainly not that are on broadcast television, where unfortunately a lot of the acceptable public opinion is still dictated.
Yes, exactly. All I can say to Bart, because he says they are doing God's work, Harry. If not, then who will protect us from the bad bald man who says naughty words? I say that, Bart, if you want to basically improve your relationship with the censor board, you should basically make a video with basically being spanked by Ted severely, and send it to them and tell them, look, I've been disciplined. I'm a good boy from now on.
And so Bart needs to feature me more as well, because I am the diversity hire. So Yes.
Self-described diversity hire.
Nice one. And it actually gives some Viagra to basically to to that little teddy of yours as well, getting really active. Yes, yes. Actually, watermelon. I actually don't think it's actually watermelon. They're actually citrulline
Yeah,
is L-citrulline, which is a vasodilator, actually is from the white part of the watermelon. But and we actually endogenously we can get it from other foods, and we endogenously also produce some, and they'll actually also produce be converted into arginine. But I think Viagra has got a whole lot of other chemical things. I can remember it has things like sodium in it and a whole lot of other compounds.
Well, it was originally developed as a blood pressure medication, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but it's a modified type of sodium type thing with certain other things, because that's what it was initially. But I can't remember all the ingredients. There's a whole list of ingredients that are in Viagra, and some of them do have certain side effects. So, thanks, Pat. I'll just go quickly down there. I can leave the you could have left the message, but anyway, if you don't, that's okay.
$20 and no comment.
Yes, and retracted the message as well, but that's okay. Thank you, appreciate it. Harry, you're getting a bit overexcited now, son. Oh yes, always. You know, there you go. Even a pussy on the show.
Well, I don't see many questions now, but there's something I wanted to say. You should have seen Bart's Discord when who was that guy again? His name, Dr. Gary. I don't know the guy talking about vitamin A by Bart.
Okay.
It was like just 10 minutes in, we were all shit talking, the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people don't realize, but I'm going to do that video next week. But I'll just say that one thing: the seal and blubber has a lot of vitamin A, retinol. It may be the reason why they don't eat the organ meats, because they get enough.
Sure.
Yeah, what's
without going into my video, we'll keep that for they can wait for it in that regard. But there's sort of things that there are a whole lot of enzymes and a whole lot of biological processes that require. Now, excess amounts may be an issue, but also excess amounts in what sort of humans? Healthy ancestral humans, or people that have gone through and have got a lot of liver fibrosis, a lot of damage, and they have got poor storage. A lot of them have, so that's another factor that people are not taking into consideration. I've actually said in the past on my live streams, if you've got, fix your liver first before, and I don't even recommend when people are losing weight to consume fat soluble vitamins, because you're going to be releasing a lot from your own fat stores. Plus, if you haven't sorted out your liver, there could be a lot of problems there as well, some derangements in metabolism and the way things work in the body. But once you fix those things, but you can't make a blatant statement when you can show the inverse. The moment I could show an inverse of anything, it basically means that association that he was basing most of his arguments, is busted, because you can't have both.
I'm very curious about the benefits that he observed by reducing vitamin A in his diet, because I doubt very much he's imagining that, but I'm very skeptical of him pinning it solely on retinol. Exactly. And I'm wondering what else might be at play there. And maybe the mechanism of reducing vitamin A allows that to whatever else is the problem to rebalance itself or something. But to call vitamin A a toxin that's dangerous, and effectively implying that it's dangerous in any amount, seems patently absurd to me. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I was quite shocked when he was. Oops.
But
All
yeah,
right.
that being said, maybe it's possible that if you're experiencing these problems and you have this derangement on this pathway, that vitamin A causes this specific issue, and reducing vitamin A in your case can help. But he's just to scaremonger about vitamin A so broadly like that just seems, I don't know, it seems myopic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry on the PARP side, Gene, at all when it comes to saturated fat. There's a lot of it's associated in SAD dieters. The Randall cycle is involved in that, so it's basically skewed information. And on the ApoE4, that's really, if you've got that that type of phenotype, then what you are is a person that will uptake chylomicron remnant much faster, which means that if you've got carbohydrates in your liver that you're actually metabolizing, or alcohol or whatever, and at the same time you have an influx of chylomicron remnants, fat, into the liver, you're going to basically get far more inflammation, liver inflammation, and fat deposition in the liver as a consequence, compared to somebody who's got an ApoE3 or 2. So that's where the difference is, that you're more susceptible. You also have, because your uptake is much more rapid, you're also more susceptible in mechanisms in the brain to glycating factors as well. But that also, an animal-based diet fixes that, because it's got more taurine that eliminates that glycating factor in those proteins. So it's actually the exact opposite. The ancestral genetics are more designed for low carb. If you take a look at all the ape family, they're all ApoE4. If you take a look at a lot of tribal people, they have higher levels of ApoE4, and they tend to be more carnivorous. And it's when they can tolerate even less carbohydrates. Usually, the Inuit, the Sami, and all these other populations that have got much higher ApoE4 tend to struggle with refined oils and carbohydrates, have worse health outcomes. Australian Aborigines, so you name it. So in a sense, if you've got those genetics, you need to be so far away from carbs, it's not a joke. Basically, the ApoE3 came about from an interglacial warm period around about 200,000 odd years ago. And then there was an even warmer period that basically brought about, I'm trying to remember the actual bloody period, ApoE2. And if you look at societies that actually have consumed more carbohydrates, they tend to have higher levels of 2,2, 2,3 in their populations. So they have higher tolerance in terms. So a 2,2 will hold chylomicron remnants in the bloodstream for far longer, up to hours sometimes, which means that you can actually clear glycogen or clear process sugar without basically mixing it up with fat in there at the same time. So that's why people are more vulnerable who have got an ApoE4, which is more the ancestral one. They should be far more on a low carbohydrate diet of whatever sort than and their tolerance to excessive sugar is much lower. So a lot of people think that it's the other way around. It's actually the complete opposite. It's the complete damn opposite, and that's what people don't understand compared to what people think. I know some of the stuff that Dave Feldman's done is good about talking about the energy substrates and stuff like that, but he seems to be a bit confused over the saturated fat issue because he's looking at simple mechanistic studies, which are very reductionist, and not looking at the overall picture in complex interaction of an organism. Plus, he's missing the sort of resident time of the chylomicron remnant, and why there are variations also in the HDL. That's deliberate as well, because that sort of passes on the key to facilitate chylomicron remnant uptake into the actual liver. So it's all these sort of things. I actually done a comprehensive video on PIM's site if you go into my playlist and look at Pim Johnson with, you will find, or I call it Chats with Pim. There's actually I think it's the 3rd video that I did with her, or 4th, I can't remember now. And I actually cover this comprehensively, the ApoE4. And it really, you should go and view it. If you've got an ApoE4, really view it and really share it with other people within your family and all that, so they can get an understanding why they need to be on a more closer to an ancestral diet than what they are currently, and what they are probably more at risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, and many other diseases of that sort due to those genetics. But it's not due to the animal fats. It's due to basically this uptake that actually happens rapidly into the liver. And as a consequence, you actually cause yourself inflammation, liver inflammation. So it's what we call insulin resistance at the liver. I don't like the term, like Bart doesn't like the term, but it's basically, you're at that, it's a Randall cycle at that level of the actual liver, in a sense. And so people just need to understand that if you've got those genes, you need to be as far away from carbs, because your tolerance is quite low in that regard. So that's pretty much it on that front. Thanks, Bart, for putting up. That's Pim's. So you'll find it on Pim's channel. So, and I think it's quite informative. That it's a long one. I think it's an hour and a half or something like that. But it goes into a lot of depth in terms of the ApoE4, and it sort of clears up a lot of misunderstanding that people have about a lot of the issues. And I think that it's like the people worry about the LDLC, unless things are oxidized, and that can only happen when you've got esterified cholesterol, which is free fatty acids, which come from PUFA, from toxic seed oils, in an esterified state, connected to a molecule of cholesterol that tends to basically increase oxidation within that LDL carrier vehicle, because that's what it is, a lipoprotein carrier vehicle. We'll call it a carrier vehicle. Others call it a truck or a vehicle or whatever.
A boat.
A boat, yeah. Some call it a boat. I think Dave Feldman calls it a boat. And at the end of the day, that is what is causing a lot of, and then sugar on top. A lot of sugar will cause glycation on the outer surface, and these damaging effects can have damaging effects on, sugar can actually, the glycocalyx can actually be collapsed for quite some time, a couple of hours, and then you create a more sticky environment, less of an environment where things are, negatively charged to repel each other. So those lipoproteins can actually move through the bloodstream, being repelled by the glycocalyx, but unfortunately, we have a diet nowadays of a lot of toxic seed oils that create this sort of very oxidative, stressed environment, plus a lot of glycating factors that tend to actually have an effect on the pericellular matrix of both the endothelium and these lipoproteins moving through, which tend to basically make them more sticky. It increases clotting factors and all sorts of other things. So it's the diet. Basically, it's the diet. We've got all these mechanisms. It's the diet. It's the stuff that we're putting down our throats, especially in the modern world. And people are doing it constantly. If they're not sleeping, they're shoving something in their mouth. I see it at work. I see it everywhere. You guys probably see it as well with relatives and friends and work colleagues. They're always shoving things down their throat every 2 hours or even less. Nowadays, it's
pretty
ridiculous.
hilarious when you see people saying how they haven't eaten all day, then their last meal was all of 4 hours ago or 5 hours ago or something, and they act like they're on a big long fast.
Yeah, I'm
starving.
I was discussing this with a coworker I barely knew, and he started to get really defensive about, no, but I really need to eat every couple hours. Going too long without eating is bad for you.
That's right.
And
Oh,
I
look,
didn't even say
the
anything. I
brainwashing is
wasn't.
good.
Oh, my blood sugar will crash. I'll get hangry. I'm hypoglycemic.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You get that continuously. It's at work. They've got a little in the tea room. They've got this little bucket. It's just full of candy and stuff like that, and they just go all day long. The only reason I go in there is to get myself a coffee, but they just coming in and out all my stuff out of there, like my cheese snack, and meat snack out of the fridge, and they're just going back and forward, you know, into the snack bar. Are ridiculous. Oh, I need some.
Bart, I
It's
have
just
the comments flowing on the right side of my screen, and your profile picture grabs my attention. I'm pretty good at ignoring the chat, and I just look over and see Frankie is always throating things.
Yes,
Yes,
Mr. Tough Anus.
yes, it's gone downhill. You know,
Sorry, I'm disrupting Harry's flow here. He would have gotten it right in 2 hours or so.
I lost my flow. I lost my, what do they call it?
Your groove?
Yes. Yeah, not looking good for you, mate. Not looking good at all. Yes.
Who's Bart K? Has he even made a video before?
Nah,
I don't
never.
see much on his channel. It must be new.
No, neither do I. Yeah,
Sorry,
he's definitely
It's
let me just poke that soft spot.
funny because
I only laugh because what else can you do but cry? That's absolutely absurd. The treatment that you've gotten from YouTube over this.
But look, the risk is there for all of us that these misanthropists will try and slowly, you know, attack us in that regard. G'day, Ryan. And it's going to escalate. It's not. G'day, Charles.
Well, in Canada, they can just say that you're spreading, you know, misinformation, or it's not enough Canadian content or whatever, and they'll just guarantee that your videos, they don't need to actually censor you. They just need to bury you at the bottom of the algorithm, so nobody but your own audience will find you anyway.
There's good research on taurine when it comes to cysts as well. So an animal-based diet usually clears a lot of this sort of stuff up. So
Harry, you need to start giving Luke and I a chance to guess what the answer is every time there's a question, because either of us is just going to be a race to see who says taurine faster.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. That's true.
Can taurine fix this?
But at the end of the day, it's not only taurine. Obviously, there are fat-soluble vitamins because cysts do have an activation of matrix metalloproteinase in the liver, which will go to different tissue types. So there is some level of potential inflammation as well that can actually drive this sort of stuff. There are compounds in the environment. It's not only food, but compounds in the environment that also can have an effect differently amongst different people. But what it seems is when you have an animal-based diet, and the only reason why I do bring up taurine in that separate vein is quite clearly because the way we actually consume animal foods today, except if you basically got fish that is snap frozen, that will be a very good source. And a lot of the Japanese, it probably explains the Japanese paradox of high taurine diet, which is the fish that is snap frozen sent to them, and they actually then hasn't really lost a lot of the taurine content, the sulfur content. It's the same thing with freshly slaughtered animals that are hunted. You know, they have, and you see you'd see them cut like pieces of, and even many of the tribal people that would cut pieces of the actual flesh. You'd see all the fluids coming out of it. You would see them also using like different like cup type things to drink the fluids as well. And these are very high in the sulfur amino acid of taurine, and that's where the difference. Where we nowadays everything gets hung up in once it gets slaughtered, put in a refrigeration system for up to 18 months. Now that's lost a lot of the actual, that content. The content is not the same. It's the reason why when they do the modern measurements, you go back and look at the old measurements, they actually show a much higher taurine content in meat. The modern ones show a much lower one, compared to seafood. The reason for it is really that, this hanging process. And then when you actually look at supermarket food, it obviously is going to have far less, so in comparison, and it is a master regulator within the body. It's, the literature is quite clear. Sorts out the gut, sorts out so many things. Anything that has something of a fibrotic nature. I mean, my lungs, were completely glassed, the left one. My heart had fibrosis in it from my cardiovascular, 12 years ago. And there's none anymore. That's why I got discharged, because the last scan showed no fibrosis, 0. That didn't happen because basically, it's because I was actually including a species-appropriate dose. So I wasn't increasing the inflammation, but then I was using these higher doses, which literature show me that it does sort out fibrosis much faster. So I was able to eliminate the problem faster. But obviously, if I was an ancestral diet from birth, I would have never had these problems, so I wouldn't have needed the dosing. It could have been much lower. But also I do recommend to people to include a bit of, whether eggs or choline, just in case they have some of these rare genetics. I think it's about a few percentage points, 3 or 4% of the population that can actually bioaccumulate a bit of sulfur, and they need to, it's a slow methylation. They need to support the secondary pathway, which is the choline betaine pathway, to eliminate any excess in that regard. So, but it needs to be said to cover that sort of side of things. Bruce. Well, nowadays, it's a recent thing. A lot of these foods are so bloody recent.
I never had a problem with broccoli, but I always put it salt on it.
Did you see the last one from Bart? Go vegan for the planet, you bigots.
Yes, the bigot concentration is very high around here.
Thanks, lads. We'll reboot with new, woke, acceptable content.
I can't wait for it.
You could actually do it with a comedy type thing. Think about it.
Are you going to do it from a treadmill?
Exactly, on a treadmill with Ted.
So you can be like this the whole time.
It could be like
camera needs to be like top down, so your head looks extra big.
It's like a bunch of sarcastic statements of like conventional dogma, but just showcasing what actually happens.
Just remember, boys, he does have a link to this live stream, so he can come on, and I will put him on.
Maybe if we antagonize him enough, he'll come.
Yeah, he probably will if we antagonize him. Yeah, that's true. That could happen in that regard. Yes. Let me see. Go through and pick up a few of the NTL. How are you, mate? Who else is here? Dean. Harry's Silverator Skippy the kangaroo. As a young child, I used to watch Skippy the kangaroo. That's a long time ago. Yes, I was, after all, born in Hobart, Tasmania. So, yes, at the Queen Alexandria Hospital at the time. I've been told, anyway. Yeah. Yes. The sensor board there is strong. Yes. The dark side is very strong there.
He's saying that like he's impressed. He wouldn't want to condemn YouTube. He's saying it like, damn, YouTube. Yeah, get on it.
He's your sort of man, Bart. Get Bruce on. You, him, and Ted. If that's what he's implying, you got a supporter there, mate. Just think of it. If you were to go all Vagoon for a while, God, it'd be millions of Vagoons. It'd be basically the most popular channel on YouTube. Yes. I'm just going through a few of these. See if I can find.
Not many questions today, but this is
No, there's not. It's yeah, they're more entertaining. I think they're expecting us to do most of the work. That's what's really happening.
The Eurasian one always has the most interesting questions. I'm like, what is up with this?
Raymond, you should know. You know, the kibble is for the peasants, not for the wealthy people. That's why all the steakhouses are booked solid in Davos. You know, let's get it right. You know, they are promoting kibble culture for the peasants. Us, we're the peasants. They are our lords and masters. You know, so they need to actually have good nutrition so they can actually overpower us. They are smaller in numbers after all.
Yep.
That is the reason New South Wales is requiring dates with men to voluntarily fight fires despite the evidence that what they say is public. Okay. Yeah, there are funny things that are happening in all different areas. Yeah, sort of even down at work, you know, they're putting things like on my computer, you know, so my background was removed completely. So they put, you know, their own background with their messaging, their virtual signaling. So
like on your wallpaper on your computer?
Yeah. Not the wallpaper on the computer. You know, when you lock up the computer, it's got a screen, like a background. Yeah, basically now they're all the same. So it's
what kind of delightful messaging do they have on there?
I won't go into it just in case YouTube would have listened and get myself into trouble. But it's you know, even though
the record, Harry has not stated any opposition to any of those messages on his screen.
Yes, exactly. So it's a bit like that, and you know, and some of that information I'm not completely against in a sense. It's about the Indigenous people, but at the same time, it's the way it's actually done that really annoys me. That they are basically ramming it down, and these are the last people that even give a flying toss about the Indigenous people. You only have to see the sickness levels amongst the Indigenous people and how little power they've got. It's all these whiteys that basically have all the power, telling the blackies how to run their lives. You know, so and then virtual signaling to the rest of us. That's what it's all about, and it really just is disgusting. Actually,
so,
to say the least. And I do have some Aboriginal friends, and so I find it disgusting in that regard. But it's all these woke middle class that will do the virtual signaling.
So in Canada, in 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission published their findings, and that was basically a task force that was expressly tasked with the goal of figuring out exactly the scope and issue of abuses against Native American people in Canada. And part of that included the residential school system. And these findings were published 7 years ago. Last year, ground penetrating radar results, I'm not sure what the context was for why they started looking for this all of a sudden, but they find
ground penetrating radar.
They find these preliminary results that suggests potential grave sites for unmarked graves of Native American children at the residential school systems, or sorry, at the residential school sites, and they start investigating all of these sites across Canada. And to date, to my knowledge, precisely 0 of these sites have actually been examined for any bodies. And I'm not saying that they won't find any, but I'm saying that for over a year they've prescribed this national shame on Canada to the point that they canceled Canada Day over it last year nationally. And
Really?
everybody hangs orange T-shirts in their windows in support of this massive problem that, again, has been known for I mean, the horrors of the residential systems has been known for decades and a whole generation. Like
Yeah,
I was
it was a
taught
bit
about how
like
abhorrent
that.
it was, right? But all of a sudden, in 2021, it's a really pertinent issue when there happens to be an election for Trudeau to be able to
It's
capitalize on that
yeah,
political virtue,
precisely.
right?
It's a lot of the
And
virtual
so
signaling.
everyone wants to shame each other for not um,
Let me ask you something.
for not
Is
self-flagellating enough over these
exactly.
children's
Let me
deaths who they had nothing to do with
yeah.
personally.
Let me ask you something.
And
Are they actually giving them?
they all overlook the fact that Trudeau is personally gaining on the he's purposely politicizing the deaths of potentially hundreds of children. Like, that is the disgusting part.
It is, and it's also a misdirect. Are they really fixing the problems within those communities? No.
Right.
That's the true, and this is even Noel Pearce, who's an Aboriginal activist in Australia, who tends to be a bit more, more traditional family values and stuff like that, has a different approach to the woke brigade, and he doesn't get a lot of looking into because he's not following the narrative, And he's basically saying we need to basically build our communities. We need to basically take responsibility for our own communities and stuff like that. And the reality is that these communities would do much better, and some communities have done much better where they've been proactive and built up their own businesses and their own tourism and all sorts of things, and are doing far better and are off the sort of the welfare treadmill and stuff like that. So the reality is that, just think of it. If you basically provided these people with the true support that they need to then enable them to achieve, better outcomes, would you actually need to employ an entire bureaucracy managing these people? No. It would cease to exist. Aboriginal affairs would cease to exist because you wouldn't need them anymore. So the whole purpose is these people want dependency because it provides them. It's like basically any business. You need clients. If you don't have clients, you're out of business. So the whole purpose, these organizations feed, and what they do is they grab certain people within those communities, they give them cushy jobs, well paid, they're looked after and all that, and those people basically then toe the party line.
Yeah,
The party line is, it doesn't solve the problems in those communities.
In Canada, there's scandal after scandal after scandal,
exactly,
constantly, of the misappropriation of funds and
precisely.
And meanwhile, Trudeau just reached he issued I think it was $1.3 billion settlement for specific reservations in Canada. That was like 2 weeks ago, and literally just throwing money at it to the applause of everybody,
throwing money out
for
to
whether
the
the issues will actually be
organizations and
addressed.
the organizations and the people that virtual signal just like him. That's what it is.
Yep.
It's not solving the problems on the ground. The problems on the ground have to basically where you incentivize the people. When you take their power away and then tell them you will be part of this program and we will tell you what to do, you basically never incentivize people to basically stand up and take control of their own lives.
Well, and Canada has an additional layer to it as well. And before anyone wants to accuse me of racism for talking about this, this is based on discussions I've personally had with Native American people. And I mean, I can play the old card, but literally my best friend was Native American. And he explained to me the issue with Canada has the Indian Act, which basically is a piece of legislation that defines what counts as Native American in Canada. So you actually have the government telling, sorry, my cat is meowing at me. You actually have the government telling a minority population who is and isn't a part of that minority population. They're not allowed to self-identify.
Exactly.
And if you don't deliberately stay beneath this piece of legislation, then you don't qualify for any of the benefit that the government gives you. So yeah, it's this welfare system that's designed to trap people onto it.
Yeah, well, that's the whole purpose, because there's a whole industry behind it. There's a whole damn industry behind it. G'day, Phoenix, and that's been the biggest problem, that these people don't really want to basically incentivize these communities. They don't want these communities being able to be self-managed, running their own affairs and all that. They want them dependent, because there's a whole industry behind it. And there's a lot of people on that gravy train. It's not the people at the bottom. They're the ones that are getting nothing, and they basically their lives are going nowhere. It's the people at the top and their underlinks that are basically getting all the benefits, and then virtual signaling the rest of the community. And they are the ones that are the most corrupt people that are actually involved in most of these scandals. The same thing happens in Australia. You see the same pattern everywhere. When you basically really incentivize those communities, stand up and take control of their own lives and do that, you actually see different outcomes. You will basically see absolutely different outcomes. And you go around the world and you see where that happens, where there are minority groups, where they actually run their own affairs, they run their own industries, their own society and all that, and are incentivized. They are very powerful. They end up with local autonomies and all sorts of things because they've got a lot of power. These people don't have any autonomy. They are controlled through a whole bureaucratic system and legal system. And even in Australia, there's even an act within the constitution that underpins it as well, which is even worse. So it makes it very difficult for these communities to independently basically grow in a way organically where they would have otherwise. Where in New Zealand, it's been a bit more easier for the community there to grow, because it does have, there are no constitutions. There is the Waitangi Treaty. So they've got, compared to many other societies like that, they've got far more political rights within the system compared. Oh, here's trouble.
Oh,
Oh, g'day, Ted. Good to see you.
Harry, very good to see you, young man. And Jared, and also very, very good to see you, Lukey.
Hello, Ted.
hello, Ted.
The Field Marshal can't be here today because he's banned. Banned, I tells you.
Yeah, that's good. Have you given him a good whipping today, or?
Oh, yes, I've given him a sound thrashing. Sound thrashing indeed.
Yes, he needs all, I mean.
Don't touch my ass! Oh, sorry.
Yes, he's been so disrespectful to the censor board of YouTube. I mean, it's outrageous.
Yes, quite right.
Frankly,
I've warned him many times. I've warned him to behave on the YouTubes. He just won't listen.
Oh, we know. It's just appalling. You're right, Ted. You've been my favorite always. You should know that. You've been my favorite.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Oh,
what?
exactly. Yes. I think the boys would agree, wouldn't you, boys?
No, exactly. I actually think you should be running the show more often.
Yeah, I mean, Bart is
you
clearly an anchor.
You never know, young man. You never know what could happen. It's going to be all new. It's going to be woke. Absolutely woke. We're going to be pushing veganism. Go vegan for the planet, I say.
Yeah. Yes. Well, not pushing veganism, simply letting people know of its inherent virtue.
Of course. Yes. My mistake.
So,
the Field Marshal would never admit to a mistake, would he? No.
Yes. So obviously you'll be. So obviously, Ted, you'll be promoting seed oils and refined sugars.
Oh yes. Get them down, you.
Oh, great. So, and candy every 2 hours.
Yes. The other thing I'll be very much supporting is some cream for some very sore sphincters.
Oh, fantastic. We all need a bit of cream down there.
Yes. Especially those with butt hurt.
If people were to be interested in a carnivore diet, do you know of any channels that would encourage them to eat an appropriate amount of carbohydrates?
Oh, yes. There's a marvelous channel by a very, very good, I think he's a psychiatrist or something. But he likes to say things like cowabunga dude and radical a lot, so I'm not sure about his credibility, frankly. That and the fact that he's...
So does that mean he's cool?
Oh, yes, cowabunga dudes.
Well,
Mm,
surely he does all that he does to help people and not profit off of them,
mm.
correct?
And I'm often left, thinking to myself, are you intellectually differently abled? See how
Oh.
woke that was?
Oh, yes, it very woke. Yes, very appropriate. as well.
Neurodivergent is the term.
Yes, intellectually divergent. Although divergence might imply less than ideal status in some way.
Could he be at two places at once as well?
Well,
Could he?
Depends.
Yeah. Or is he entangled in some way?
ooh, quantum entanglement. Ooh.
Yes, fuzzy at the edges.
Mm. I was missing this. Now I've got it.
Oh,
I'm in charge here. Hey, what? Thank you. Carry on.
will do. Will do.
Good.
G'day, Stefan. We've got a few characters here. Oh, I'm feeling extremely warm this winter. Oh, it must be, I don't know, what is it, the El Nino or whatever, the bloody thing? Oh, she's always complaining. It's the taurine effect. I'm the reason why she feels warm.
You can't say El Nino without making me think of Chris Farley, Spanish for the Nino. I won't try to impersonate his delivery.
Mm.
Oh, Dean, how could you do that? Oh, but then again, have you been following Ted's new instructions? Is that the reason? Okay, fair enough. Then you're doing well, my son.
Oil your sphincter, Dean. Those are my instructions.
G'day, Shelley. Shelley's here as well.
Shell, where's my hello?
Oh, exactly, Shell. You've been neglecting Ted. Ted's actually the star here, remember?
Goodness me. What the belly hell's going on in your area?
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
it's shocking. Look, this one's the worst scoundrel out of all of them, you know. It's one of your Kiwi mates, Ted. You should go over and sort him out.
Yes, a good
Late
spanking.
at night. Late
Discipline.
at night.
Yes, late night spankings for you, Richard. Yes.
Ah, yes, Bruce, very much so.
Mm.
But, I mean, Ted would have a different opinion on that. Ted would think that you're, I mean, how can you call people brainwashed?
Well, I
know,
think
for eating basically, such appropriate foods. Seed oils are great for you. Isn't that right, Ted?
Absolutely. Yes,
think of the
get them down you.
sponsorship opportunities with the vegan channel, especially for vegan leather.
Ooh,
Oh, yes.
I love it when you talk dirty, young man. Also, might I say, if I can assume your gender, that beard is very, very manly.
Thank you. That's exactly why I grew it. In fact,
So that we could assume your manliness.
Yes, so that you wouldn't have to, so it would be self-apparent.
Go and get your junk out. Ted, what the fuck is wrong with you, son? Behave. Sorry.
Well, as it happens, I am not wearing pants, as you know, because
Good. Carry on, soldier.
pants do nothing but hold you back in life.
Carry on.
It's usual procedure for hairy strings. It's to not wear pants.
Actually, that's the case as well.
I do recall these conversations.
Oh, so I'm actually the non-compliant one here today.
You're the odd one out. You're the odd one out, actually.
Now,
This is
Harry
the
Louse.
best proof I
Harry
can
Louse,
give. My knee.
Yes, Ted.
have you ever had a bigger star than yours truly, my gorgeous golden magnificence on your show?
Never. You're the greatest, mate. You're the
I thought
greatest.
so.
Ted. Yes, you're the greatest.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no
Yes.
more.
Oh,
Go on then,
yes.
say some more.
Oh, definitely. Let's see what other people are saying here.
Other people? Who
Oh,
cares about other people, Harry? Goodness me.
Hello, Kitty. How can you say that? You know, did you hear what Ted had to say? You know, you're not with the program, kiddie. You're not with the program. See, that's another pussy that you basically need to give a good spanking to. Believe me.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Trying to drag you in on that. Oh, here's your basically so-called, you know, pal.
Look,
What could we
don't-
call him, pal?
Don't worry,
childhood
boys and
pal?
girls. Don't worry, boys and girls. The Field Marshal, your golden magnificence here, myself, Field Marshal Lord Edward Yellow, I'll take care of that bald, bad person. I'll make sure he keeps in line, so I will. He'll not be assuming anyone's gender anymore. Neither will he be allowed to speak about anybody's appearance in any way, because apparently that's harassment.
Oh, exactly.
Sexual
Yes.
harassment, in fact.
All right,
You know,
the other
we
thing that
totally agree with you, Ted.
the other thing that he's going to stop doing immediately is harassing you all with the truth. Not okay. Not acceptable
Yeah,
behavior.
exactly. I want lies. Please give me more lies, Ted.
All right. Well then, meat is bad. Okay.
Have you got any Seventh-day Adventist studies conducted based on
Oh,
food
yes.
security questionnaires and
Yes.
epidemiology that you could help to
Absolutely.
advise
How
us
dare you question
conclusively
the
about nutrition now?
epidemiology? It is the word of the Lord, you know. It is our canon.
Well, in
And
the
it
case
should
of the
say
Seventh-day
unto
Adventists, literally.
you, nee, icky patiki patang, zoo, pung, and stuff. Oops, I think I've lost my shit. Hang on. Ah, there it is. Right, okay, I'm back.
Oh, it's good to see you, mate. That you've actually taken such a strong position in the family, and basically you put the other two in line. You know,
Yeah, I think it's time that you've shed the anchor around your neck. If we can all be
exactly,
frank.
exactly.
Yes.
We want you to we want you to basically go out there and prosper. You know, go out there and become the big star. You know, they've been basically keeping you in the background. It's been awful. I can understand why YouTube took the action that it did, you know, in order to basically elevate you to the status that you deserve, Ted.
Well, it was me
You're
that
the
reported
greatest.
him, Harry. It was me that reported him because he wouldn't pay my fee.
Oh, I don't
Is it?
doubt that. I don't
Yes.
doubt that, you know.
Yes. Disgraceful.
Yes, you did the right thing, Ted. You did the right thing, you know.
Yes, doing God's work here.
Yes.
Exactly.
I've also told Brian Blessed he can do his own bloody voice from now on too.
Good idea.
Will you stop touching my ass?
God, he's awful, isn't he, Ted? Absolutely
Oh, goodness
awful.
me. Look
How
at him. He's
have
got
you-
his hand all over me.
How have you put up with him for so long?
Bad touching, bad touching, bad touching.
Yes, you're very right in that regard. Boys, what else have you got to say to Ted? You
Well,
know,
I don't know if I've ever met Ted personally like this before. Actually, not on stream. We haven't spoken directly.
you've never spoken to Ted.
Not
How
directly.
come?
no.
See, that's why you haven't basically upgraded your education. See, Ted's the greatest.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Quite so.
we have to be very careful. Just, you know, stroke his ego. You know, we don't want to upset Ted.
Yeah, I see. I think that is exactly the person I needed to get out of my meat eating ways and learn
Exactly.
the truth about how processed food is amazing for me, and no one
Yes.
better than him to tell me that.
Precisely.
You're actually in the best part of the year now, Luke, as well. You can
Oh, yes.
take respite
And you
in
look,
that,
you
knowing
look
that
very,
the-
very golden too, love. Very golden. Lovely. We do like a bit of yellow. Mm.
you should
And
feel safe knowing that the
if you
very
keep
sun is
eating those
up there.
plants and things, you'll end up looking very yellow soon, because you'll be all full of marvelous beta carotene, which we all know is absolutely a vital nutrient, don't we, Harry?
Oh, I thought you were
Yes,
going to say we'll all be genre.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Beta
Get your
carotene.
get your carotene in. Get your carotene.
Yes.
You know, Suck on a carrot.
Carrots and beets and carrots. That's what you should have for breakfast. Delicious. Carrots and beets and carrots. Just making sure you heard.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. That way. There we are. Oh, yes, you're looking very lovely too, darling.
Where's he? He's down there, right? I can't see my screen at the same time.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, exactly.
I'm looking up at you with my one eye. I mean, my
Which
good one.
one eye is that?
Well, my good one. Because the other one's gone, see?
Right.
Because somebody who shall remain nameless fucking chewed it off when he was a lad. Didn't he?
Really?
Yes, little bastard.
What an evil little child he was.
I know. Incredible. The things I've put up with to be here with you today, Harry.
It's appalling. I
Over
didn't realize
50 years. 50
you're
years of abuse.
Carnivore
We
from a
need
young age. Bear eyes.
We need absolutely. Ted, you need a royal commission in Kiwi land.
Mm.
Yes, the abuse is appalling. You need to basically demand a royal commission against the bald man.
Yes, well, I think one's underway, frankly. The pyres have been built already, Harry. The man's a witch. Clearly.
Oh, really?
Mm.
No
All
wonder
we
he
need to know
associates.
now is,
No
does he
wonder
weigh
he-
the same as a duck, and does he float?
No wonder he associates with that Tracy character in Australia.
Yes.
Apparently, she doesn't float the same way either.
Whatever floats your boat, Trace. I'm with you. Wink, wink.
Anyway, Ted, any other news on the horizon? Is this character going to be coming on?
Well, he's banned, you see. He's not allowed to appear until 25 June. And if he does, even on somebody else's channel, that person's channel might be, in trouble. So he can't be here. Besides,
really?
do you think I'm going to give up the limelight?
I'm
I'm in charge here.
That was actually the conditions. That's insane.
Oh, yes, it's in the fine print. When you're banned off the tubes, you're banned on all channels until your ban period is elapsed. And then maybe you'll learn not to harass people with true statements about their fuck trumpetery or something.
God forbid you should have the chance to defend yourself.
No,
in the event that someone accuses you of something and gets you erroneously suspended.
And also the El Gore's rhythm, and it's not even a person, but the El Gore's rhythm over there at the YouTubia makes decisions about whether in fact someone has been bad and bald, and won't actually supply a transcript of what was said or a timestamp of when it was said in support of their arbitrary decision in their infinite wisdom with no correspondence to be entered into, unless you want an auto response from yet another piece of software that just sends out an email saying, we understand your concerns. However, we don't give a rip-roaring fuck.
I had a video that I actually checked and I actually got a reply back, but it wasn't the reply I was expecting. They said that there were certain things in the video that had to do with dangerous behavior or dangerous things or stunts or stuff like that. And I go, I don't remember any of that sort of stuff. It was about C19 and did not include anything of that sort. So I don't know where they saw stunts. And yeah, I know, if you read it, I'm going, what were they? I was going, now what the hell were they viewing?
Through
Clearly, he was talking about C19 while doing dangerous skate maneuvers or something.
Yes,
I don't know.
Actually, I recall now, Harry. It was the video that you filmed while you were being fired out of a cannon.
That's it. Must be that. Must be definitely that.
Yeah. Sorry if anyone in the audience missed that one. You can't watch it now. It's been banned.
Exactly.
Quite right too. And also the one where you were harassing teddy bears.
Oh, that's true. Yes. It's been one of my, darker secrets. That's true. Yeah, it's been one of my darker secrets. I've been influenced by inappropriate people, especially like that bald man, for a very long time. I do apologize to you, Ted. I've overcome that now. I've overcome. I'm struggling, but I'm getting there slowly but
Mm.
surely.
I realize now that I was indoctrinated in the carnivore cult.
Yes.
I look
What's
forward
this?
to achieving
What's
health
this?
finally for the first time in my life.
What's this ridiculous phobic nonsense on the screen right here, Harold? What is this?
Yeah, he's awful, isn't he? Absolutely
Terrible.
awful.
Terrible. It's phobic.
You know, God,
That's
you know,
harassment. At least it would be if
Precisely.
anybody was identifiable.
That's
Which
gang
are-
stalking, probably.
Oh, yes.
pretty
Mm,
much.
mm,
You know.
mm.
You know, you've got your work cut out, Teddy. You've got your work cut out. You know, so call your mate Trudeau. He could help you. He could really help you
You know
sort
Trudeau?
out.
Could you introduce us?
Well,
I would love to.
Yes,
shake
I could.
that man's hand.
Yes, but then you'd have to wash the nugget off it after that, wouldn't you? Of course. Mm.
How's your relationship with Jacinda at the moment?
Well, she's lovely as our fearless leader, Jacinda. Yes, just the other night when she was giving me one roughly from the rear, she was telling me all about her policies coming up.
Oh,
about how she's going to
fantastic.
keep giving it to us roughly up the rear. You know, I
Oh,
like that kind
great.
of thing, don't you, Harold? Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I've heard something about the debut of the
with a
long-awaited
bit-
meat tax in New Zealand.
Does she provide the cream?
Well, no, you have to lube yourself, frankly.
Oh,
Now,
God.
Jared, what was that?
That's a bit rough.
I said I've heard that the long-awaited and much anticipated meat tax might finally debut in New Zealand. Is that true?
Well, they're going to hide it as a fart tax,
Right.
Yes.
Herb tax.
which makes that bald bastard in trouble again, doesn't it? Because the noxious gas is coming from that mother, I can tell you. Hey?
That's
Especially
why
when
he's
he's been
got
eating taurine, Harry. It's all
That's
sulphurous.
exactly. Yeah, precisely.
Stinks
Yeah,
the whole house out, you know.
Yet
Oh,
another
Of course he
benefit of
blames the
veganism
dog.
is that no one will fart once they change to vegan based
That's
on your
right.
channel.
Go vegan bigots and all stop
Watch list will
farting
go to
for the
0.
planet. Yes.
Yes.
And for the bears. We all have to look
Are
after
they
bears.
going to provide you with a fart catalytic converter?
Probably. Yes,
Catalytic converter.
it'll be a compulsory surgical implant or something. Yes.
Well, it's good to hear. I mean, so things are on the up in New Zealand. You
Yes.
guys are
Also,
progressing.
the other thing
Very
Jacinda's
progressive
doing,
of you.
the other thing Jacinda has been doing is she's going to continue her policy of giving millions of dollars to the gangs.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, what would they? Did you think about what the gangs would do if she stopped? That's a relief to hear.
Exactly.
I was losing sleep over what
I
the
know.
New Zealand gangs would do if they lost their funding.
Exactly.
Precisely. Apparently, she was over here in Iceland, just recently, and she was basically, our illustrious Prime Minister, our new Prime Minister, Sir Woke. He basically said, he'll sort of consider holding some of them over here, not sending them all back to New Zealand. So, which is really disappointing. Jacinda would just have less people to basically support, which is awful.
Isn't it
What can I say?
remarkable how the Commonwealth nations are all so nicely aligned in how they agree on what the solutions are to all of our problems?
Yes, that's because they've been listening to Uncle Charlie, our future king, and his mate from Davos,
That's it.
who's actually been training them all as well. They've all been to a little seminar, run by our mate from Davos there, and he's been telling them all what they think.
Well, he's just been
Yes.
telling them what the science
And
is,
go-
and that the science is clear.
Oh yes.
Yes,
God,
exactly.
don't mention the science. That bald person will show up and start talking about it again. It's so boring talking about science all the time.
exactly.
Don't worry. Don't concern yourself with science. Just let the good grown-ups in government tell you what the answers are. They're the ones who know how to interpret science. You couldn't understand it.
Quite right too. I'm too stupid.
Same as
I have
I-
cotton wool in my head,
for the same reasons that peasants didn't need to read the Bible in the Dark Ages.
No, just believe us. We'll tell you what it says. Don't eat pork.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that the folks at Davos didn't invite you, Ted. I think that they would need your expertise in their plans,
Well, the thing is, Lucas, I was busy providing the voice for Brian Blessed at the time. But I'm not doing it anymore. He can do it himself. Lazy bastard.
Ted, how could you say that about Ted?
Well, that seems like a bit of cyber harassment there.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, Shelley. Shelley.
Just
Right.
wait till she starts commenting on your appearance.
Oh, well, exactly. Then we'll have her, and then there'll be discipline. Spank, spank,
Exactly.
spank, 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 spank.
Oh, you got somebody that loves you.
Hello, kitty. Oh, I could go a bit of that. You know you want it, Shell. You know.
Really? How could you say that, Shelley? How could you say that?
Goodness!
He's the perfect specimen.
Homophobe! Bigot! Right, spankings.
Oh God,
Spankings for you,
losing.
Shell. Will you stop touching my ass? Goodness!
Oh, God. This has been going around for a while, but yes, those are very, very bad speculative reasonings that shouldn't be entertained.
Gary from WA, he's offended with you, Ted. I think so. I'm not sure. I'm confused.
Yes.
Maybe with the bald man.
Well, you see, that's the thing, Gary. As soon as you say, I'm offended, what that means is that science shows and studies support the fact that you are right because of your offense. That's the thing that makes you right, you see. So all you need to do is say, I'm offended, and you're in the right, and everybody else is wrong. Those are the facts. Message ends.
Precisely. Well, I can't understand. Why doesn't the bald man get it?
He does. I give it to him a lot. It's payback for all the years of abuse, you know, Harry.
The abused becomes the abuser. Is that what you're
I'm just
telling me?
enjoying the fact that right now he's gagged. He can't say anything. I'm in charge here.
Is he enjoying
dear.
that as well? Or?
Anyway, I thought the show was going to be a bit cerebral, Harry.
What? You came to the wrong show.
Oh, sorry about that.
No.
We've covered farts. I don't know what else you want.
We've covered farts. We've covered fart catalytic converters. We've sort of covered, too much methane. We've covered that bald man consumes far too much taurine, so it's causing you far too much discomfort in the home. I understand.
Dreadful, darling.
Appalling. I told him only a couple of grams, but he says, I'm having my coffee, so I need to take more to counteract the coffee effect. But no consideration for you, Ted. None
Not at
whatsoever.
all. None at
Yes,
all.
appalling.
Yes, get stuck into him. Report him.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mm.
Thanks, Richard. Oh, some Kiwi pesetos.
The old Pacific pesos.
Oh, that's right. Well, oh yes, the Pacific pesos. You're right, exactly. Yes,
Of course
very
I'm right.
popular.
Goodness.
I agree totally with you. You're always right. It's the other bloke that's he's been keeping you in the shadows, which is appalling, absolutely appalling.
Yes, I agree. Dreadful. Yes, he was. Chewed my bloody eye right out of my head when he was about 15 months old or something. He was teething on my eye. Little bastard. I can't believe we're still friends. I really can't.
Neither did I. Well, I'm shocked. No wonder he's mistreated you so poorly.
God, I could tell you some stories
I
about that
still
bald
cannot
man. I really
understand.
could.
Yeah, I guess he was envious of your all-seeing eyes, and he tried to acquire your powers.
He makes me watch. There we go. He makes me watch.
Well, I That's appalling, absolutely appalling abuse. So little Teddy basically being forced. That is, you're right to basically muzzle him and keep him and put him under control. Go, Ted. Go, mate.
Yes.
So even Kayla's she's got a suggestion. You could use something, some of this. Take some off him. Take some off him.
Ooh. He's got a number of different little pots of white powder, you know. Oops, I've said too much.
Ooh. And pills. Yes. He's keeping all those stem enhanced pills to himself. How unfair and how selfish is all I can say.
Well, he's jealous.
He fixes his eyesight and he
Yeah.
basically does nothing for you.
I know.
Appalling.
Not only does he not fix my eye, he bloody chewed it out of my head.
Oh, God.
He's just jealous because of the size of my junk, frankly.
I'm sure there's another angle to this story. Let's not be too two-dimensional about it.
And what's the third dimension? Sure. How could you basically? All these leaders around the world are part of this great reset. It's not BS. It's a great reset, isn't it, Ted?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I think you've assumed the truth there, Shelley. You're assuming all sorts of things.
Exactly.
Don't
You're off
you
to
know
Darth.
there's more than binary true and untrue. There's
Precisely.
acceptable narrative and unacceptable narrative.
Oh, exactly. I agree with you, Ted. Completely.
Unacceptable is my favorite word.
Yes. Baldness
So,
is unacceptable.
So have they organised a big shindig for you up at Davos?
Oh, yes. I'm the guest speaker next week.
Oh, fantastic. Have they organised a big chalet for you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, great. So
I've got the whole top level to myself.
Oh, fantastic. So
Of the highest order I am, you know.
Oh, exactly. $250,000 per night. Perfect.
Oh, yes.
They're really looking after you.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Are you going to be standing up on the balcony and just throwing a bit of kibble to the peasants out there as well, just to be, nice and?
Well, that, and I'm also going to be pumping out pure CO2.
Oh, well, you'll fit
we've
in.
got to keep the fair going somehow, don't we?
Yeah, well, you'll fit in perfectly.
Excellent.
I mean, if you consider that they're flying in with jets and all that, if they organise a jet for you at least.
Oh, I've got 5 jets.
Oh, fantastic. So
I have to bring my entourage.
Oh, that's exactly right. Precisely. Well, they're doing the right.
But guess who's not bloody invited? Guess who I'm not bringing?
The bald man.
He can stay at home.
Are you caging him?
Oh, yes. And muzzling
fantastic.
him.
Oh,
with a ball gag. Oops, I've said too much again.
Ooh.
He's in the gimp suit right now.
Gagging is supposed to be punishment.
He's in the gimp suit. Gimp suit.
That's the right thing. I'm glad to see that you've taken control of your life, that you basically earned your place in the sun, that you're basically now embracing the Davos culture. I'm so happy for you, Ted. It's about time. You've suffered far too much at the hands of that awful, evil bald man, and his so-called scientific purity.
No, using words like integrity as if that matters in science.
Exactly.
Integrity.
Appalling. If you can't adjust something, well, it's not worth basically even looking at it.
Well, exactly. Besides, who'd want to listen to someone that wears nappies and dribbles and chews your eye out of your head?
Exactly. And how dare he say that it's fabrication? It's adjusted. That means somebody used intelligent adjustment to it.
Well, how else are you supposed to find what you want to find in your research?
Well, exactly. If you publish what you actually observed, then that'd be no good at all. So you're assuming the truth again, aren't you, boys?
Oh, exactly.
No more truth assumptions. We need to adjust the truth to suit our narrative. That's what we do.
Well,
right too.
you know, we've suffered as well under the bald man's influence. I know. Like yourself, you've tried to extricate yourself away from that bald man.
I
You've
still
done
can't
the
get him to
right.
stop touching my ass.
Oh, well, it's appalling. It's appalling. You know, you've got him caged, muzzled, and he still forces his hand through the cage and basically does this appalling stuff. You know, it's just
I quite like it, to be fair.
unacceptable. Don't tell the rest of them out there.
Oops, I said too much
You're
again.
giving up too much information.
Remarkable where the simple pleasures in life can be found.
Well, I mean, after all of
Exactly.
it, the ass touching isn't so bad, really. We all like a bit of ass touching, don't we, boys?
Okay.
No, just me then, is it? Okay.
Corinne's not here to attest to this, so I can remain innocent.
That's true. You're lucky.
Did you miss me?
Oh, not really. Oh, well, yes.
What do you mean, not really?
Obviously, yes, I did.
Right, fine.
Okay. He's just having to keep the bad bald man at bay.
Yeah, exactly. I just missed the. I didn't even miss the actual ball man. You know, I got confused. You see, we need your guidance, Ted. You're the supreme one. You're the great one.
Ah, here is Ted. Ah, here is Ted. Ah. Yes, sweetheart.
Oh,
Thank you, darling.
Oh,
I had
Thank you,
noticed
love.
that before, and here I had
Nicholas.
been respecting Ted.
Well, it'd be rude not to wear pants online, wouldn't it, Jared?
I don't know. That's pretty rude, I guess.
That's a complicated subject, I guess.
For those that don't know, Jared is well known for coming online without his pants.
it's appalling.
Mm.
Also,
Harry's even done it once or twice.
yeah, I
What-
still do it.
what's the
Unfortunately,
next week?
it's Jared's influence. I know it's appalling. It's awful, but you know, don't blame me, please, Ted. You know, I'm with you.
Yes. We're being rescued from the non-pants radicalization pipeline.
Pants are just the worst. Show me someone who says they're comfortable in pants, and I'll show you a liar.
Correct.
Well, the bald man likes his leather pants.
vegan
He likes a lot of things in leather. Let's put it that way. He has a leather fetish.
Ted, are you ever going to twerk in leather pants, just like your mortal enemy there did once?
Well, I'll tell you what.
What Lucky means is, are you going to outpants the bald man?
Well, I'll tell you what. Anyone that super chats Harry's fine channel to the tune of $200 US, and I'll get my junk out for you.
Ted, do you have any plans to start an OnlyFans?
Oh yes, you read my mind.
Vegan OnlyFans for Ted?
Yes, my
Yeah, exactly.
cotton wool-filled mind. Yes, I've heard there's another vegan that has an OnlyFans channel where he's thumbing his wife or something.
Man's got to eat.
Hopefully not
Yeah.
using that thumb though, eh?
Guess the chemo won't pay for itself.
Hey. He's got to get his B12 somehow.
Oh dear. This is really going downhill, isn't it, Harry?
What a Saturday night.
Oh, I like Show's question.
What's your pronoun, Ted?
My lord, your golden eminence, I don't know. What do you think? Should we have a post about it? Everybody post what my pronoun should be, other than my lord or your golden eminence, savior of the world.
And remember, it must be woke approved.
Yes. And don't you assume anything about my anything, bigots. Except you may assume I have huge junk. Until you
Yes.
super chat $200,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. Rise into that sort of stuff.
Well, it is actually a crime where I live to misgender anybody, so please don't report me.
Yes, bigot.
You could not expect anything actual intelligent to come from Richard, could you, Ted? Oh, there's a nice one from Shelley.
Sorry, I'm answering the question using interpretive dance.
Yes, you must be honoring some native tribe of some kind.
Are you assuming things again, bigot?
No, I can only imagine what your high wisdom holds, but I'm just a poor peasant. I'm here to
Don't
live.
make me come there, darling. I will. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Look at me. Other way. There, see? Now you can see me. Hello.
Oh, hello.
God,
You're
he's
even more
sexy, isn't
golden
he?
than I remember.
God, he's a sexy Brazilian, isn't he? Look at him. Golden, and we do like things that are golden here, don't we? Yes.
Oh yes,
Like-
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Like
absolutely.
showers.
Now, how do you prefer your Brazilian, shaven or unshaven?
Oh, well, I'm all about the fur, me. That's why this man up here in the corner is so goddamn sexy. Look at that fur. Eh? You just need to dye it yellow, and we're
You
on.
could rub. You
Oh,
could
it
rub
already
your,
is kind of going blonde in the sun.
Yes. Oh God, you got him excited now. You could rub yourself against that, couldn't you, Ted?
Inappropriate touching.
Well, there's another question from Kayla.
P.
Not sure what P stands for.
Not sure what the question is.
No, is there a question? I'll certainly I'll guide you through whatever troubles you're having, Kayla. Lay on the couch, tell Uncle Ted all about it.
So where exactly is the bald man now? You've got him in a cage with a muzzle on. Have you shoved any like kibble treats in the actual cage for him, or are you denying him food at the moment?
Well, so long as he keeps touching my ass, he can do what he wants. But as soon as the ass touching stops, it's back in the cage. Back in your box.
Okay. So you've just let him out, but he's on a muzzle. He's under control at least.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
We've got him.
Is he self-flagellating, or is that too ambiguous on the enjoyment versus punishment?
Yes, he is, and he makes me watch too, Jared.
Look, squirrel.
I will come and find you, Tracy.
Yes.
Who wants a late night visit from me?
Remember, she's the evil witch from the west.
Yes. Well, from
west of you.
yes.
Remember? Yes.
She's actually
And-
her witch past goes back a lot longer than that, you know.
Exactly.
It
Yes.
goes back to Lancashire.
Now you need to basically get have a big carrot to basically take
I
on her
love it when you start going down those lines, Harry. Carry on.
to take on her pork chop.
Oh, is that a euphemism?
You can take it as you like. My supreme being, Ted.
Yes. The bald
Probing
man used to
for
make
what?
me play a game with him, you know. He used to insert things and I had to guess what he was inserting. First of all, there was, a carrot, and I was like, oh, that feels like a carrot. And he was like, very good, Ted. And I was, thank you very much. And then after that, it would be, something like, he even used the corn cob once, which was fine because it's yellow, and we do like yellow things. It was a bit knobbly, to be fair. And then after that, he got one of those, oh, God, what are those green things?
Oh, broccoli.
Oh, you've played this game before, have you, Harry?
Only with the broccolini, the small one.
I can't believe you fell into that trap.
You're so intelligent, Ted. You know,
Oh, yes, much better than that bull crap.
The rest of us are basically a shadow in your brilliance and supremeness.
Thank you. Mm.
Prepping for what? Prepping for the end of the world. Ted doesn't believe in the end of the world. He believes in Jacinda's basically utopian future. Exactly. It's going to be milk. Sorry, not milk. Honey, salad. So it's going to be salad and honey.
Don't forget the fruities.
Oh yes.
And the seed oils.
Oh, actually, fruit and honey. That's it. Yes.
Fruit
Get rid of
and
that.
honey and fruit. That's what you should have for breakfast.
Delicious.
Very good. I mean, very good.
We can't do that. Yeah,
Why would you let such a dangerous criminal outside?
Exactly.
Yeah, Harry's jeopardizing his channel if he has such a miscreant on.
Exactly. It's taken this long to get him under control. And you want to let him out straight away? What's wrong with you?
Exactly.
We're doing this for the people, you know. We're saving the planet. It's important work. This is God's work.
All right.
Yeah, West.
Well, Harry and Ted and Luke, it's almost midnight.
You gotta go. You gotta go.
Well, I see a question here that I know that you're going to explain for a while, and I'm like, I could make my exit now and get to bed about a half hour earlier.
Well, Jared, dream a little dream of me.
Nothing else, Ted. Nothing else.
Yes. You sexy hairy man, you. Oh. Right, anyway, what's next?
See you, Jared.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, mate.
Rest well.
Yeah, I won't say that part.
Just keep it to yourself, bigot.
Ted, you make sure that Bart gets his spanking.
Oh, he'll get it, don't you worry.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
No, what it isn't, Ryan. What it isn't, Ryan, is it's good stuff. You know, you're supposed to basically have the plant doesn't want.
All right, you're going to start talking nonsense now, Harry.
Yeah, I know.
In that case, I'm out of here. That's enough for me. We'll see you in a few weeks on the main channel. I'll be in charge. You know.
Good.
No more.
The suspense is killing me.
Yes. 25th or 26th, depending where you are in the world. That's when the channel will reboot. It'll be all new and all yellow, I can tell you.
See you, my illustrious leader.
Bye.
Well, what will be of us now?
He's gone.
Oh my.
Now we're not under surveillance from the Ted Brigade. Could you explain the function of anti-nutrients? It's the way the plant protects its basically reproductive system, because that's what it uses. It basically uses the seeds within those plants. That's where the most anti-nutrients are, in the seed part, and it needs to protect it for that simple reason. Now, when you actually get a tuber or stuff like that, that is actually like the whole seed, and so that sort of stuff will have a certain level of anti-nutrients. That's why they had to prepare them in a certain way. That's why they had to store them in a certain way for a certain length of time in order to break down some of these anti-nutrients to make them. That's why our ancestors practically would have not consumed them. That's why the N15 data is quite clear and emphatic. But they don't have any positive functions. It's basically a protective mechanism to reduce. And some animals have developed methods of breaking down those anti-nutrients. Our bodies don't have that capacity. So what we did was, in the past, we fermented. We basically did all these other things. We soaked and fermented and stuff like that over a very prolonged period of time, which is very unproductive. But when you've got small amounts, you've got a lot of people with undernourishment, then you try to maximize the nutrition from all sources as much as possible. So people would have used more animal foods and seasonally plants to supplement their needs. And then they would have used those techniques. But the functions of the anti-nutrients are to basically protect the plants from the predators, so, and different compounds work in different ways. Some compounds in some animals will be more lethal, in other animals less lethal. They can actually tolerate. They've developed mechanisms because they feed on those things. Those that don't, and we know that some animals like sheep and all that, there are certain plants that will kill them. So farmers do look out for things like that and to try and eliminate things like that. So there's those sort of factors. But pretty much, it's a plant's protective method. Animals don't need anti-nutrients, animal foods. They don't need anti-nutrients because they protect themselves otherwise. They use, fists, claws, hooves to kick, and other methods to try and actually protect themselves. So very different mechanism of protection. That's really what it is, at its core. How they work, that'd be a half-hour conversation to all these things, how they bind and things like that, your phytates and everything else, the minerals in that regard. I heard Unicorn Division are getting vegan MREs. Oh, definitely. You should have asked Ted that. We should have posed that question to Ted. Whip him with a celery.
Oh, God.
That Tracy woman. Yes. She knows I get excitable with these sort of conversations. Yes. It's all about, Tracy, you should know, it's all about plug and play.
Oh, shit.
Vegan farts and say get the, yes, precisely. But look forward to our new catalytic converter from Jacinda Harjab. She and her other friends at Davos will be basically producing new devices to basically eliminate or minimize your emissions, people. Yes. So, do comply, because you will be required, because otherwise, Greta will get very upset, and we can't have that. I'll tell you one thing, that girl will remain known for a very long time. They'll say, when people go, how dare you? They'll go, oh, there's a Greta remark, So one thing that she'll never be forgotten, probably for the wrong reason, but probably not the reason she desires.
Yes, precisely.
Oh, nothing, mate. You missed nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, we're on tune with you, mate. We're on tune.
Is he out of the cage?
Has Ted walked away? Is he at some distance? He's not listening, I hope. That's exactly it. The plant defenses. That's a very easy way of putting it. Exactly. It's the plant defenses. Perfectly stated, Shelley. You could read a lot of things into that, so I'm not going to read anything.
No, this has gone downhill enough.
Ted said enough.
Oh, God.
Yeah, look, I'm hoping that Bart does, in all seriousness, that he does really well, that he comes back.
Yeah. This
Because-
was beyond criminal.
Because look, we need people with integrity.
Yep.
I know that Bart at some stage, and the witch has got something for me. It is to be expected. I better put it on screen. I'm waiting for it. Oops, oops, oops. What is it doing? Oops. Did I actually share audio? No.
Nope. I think you have to share the tab itself. I don't remember how it works.
Amateur time. Amateur time. Sorry, Tracy. Amateur time. I actually found a video that I actually did a while back, and I actually
She clipped us.
was reading through a study, and I was actually showing a different screen. I did put a comment, God, absolutely,
That's what you should have for breakfast.
Delicious.
Oops. Yes.
Fruit
Get rid of
and
that.
honey and fruit. That's what you should have for breakfast.
Delicious.
Very good. I mean, very good.
Yes.
Fruit
Get rid of
and
that.
honey and fruit. That's what you should have for breakfast.
Delicious.
Yes, yes. Tracy comes up with all the one-liners. Yeah, it'll be good to have him back. Definitely. Yeah, it's becoming very, very hard. Because I know that Bart had a style that he enjoyed doing.
Yep.
But unfortunately, now the way it is, he'll have to possibly leave that style for Odyssey, and then maybe some of his private videos. So people should, I think Bart should still continue doing some of that content, but putting it into private, and people should basically then become members and watch that extra stuff where he has that, and then the sort of more general stuff where he'll have to. I suspect that you won't hold Bart back, but he'll be a bit more tactful in the way he goes about it. So it's just that, yeah. Even I've sort of like to use certain verbiage in some of mine, but I'm always very careful to be very generalized and not, I say general vagoons, it's no, like they will say all about the carny tarts and stuff like that in a generalized way. And people can't really disagree about that because, well, you're not targeting a specific person or whatever to be able to use that. But unfortunately, people are not willing. They put out nonsense out there, but they're not willing to take criticism. And that's the reality.
Yeah, and you just have to look at which side is actually willing to silence the other, because if you think you're so right,
that as well. Yeah,
why do you need to silence your opponent?
Yeah, we've got here, people like VG that are basically saying that they would like to stick their foot down and crush the head of a small child. And then you've basically got Bart that's calling out these misanthropists, and who do they take action against? It's ridiculous, so that tells you everything about the world the way it is. that you could actually have people that are out there terrorizing people, killing people, and whatever else, and won't even be arrested in some countries. And then you've got basically citizens that are just standing up and saying, we've had enough of this bullshit. And they are the ones that are getting arrested. There's something wrong with society, and that one is okay, acceptable. All these poor, discriminated people that need to basically riot, kill, and cause absolute mayhem in society. Well, they could actually protest peacefully, like other people do, about their disagreements. They don't need to riot, but basically they get scot-free, while people that are basically a bit upset with the whole situation, some people probably went too far in that regard. But also I was going, where was the police? Maybe they weren't being funded. I don't know. So, yeah. But there's a lot of double standards in our world, unfortunately, and it's definitely a problem, and it's going to get worse. These people are not holding back. They are definitely on a war path, a misanthropic war path. And they're going to push it as far as they can, and they're trying all these different techniques. Things are getting, yeah. Even in my recent, I sort of said that later this year things are really going to get off the rails in terms of food security, and definitely next year. But already Chad has officially, as of a couple of days back, officially in Africa. And I actually thought there would be some other West African nation, not Chad, that would actually officially declare that they're in a crisis, a food crisis, and they need assistance from international organizations. So, yeah, much earlier than I thought. I mean, we're still in June. We're not even in, we're months away from being in September or whatever. And so things are not looking very well, not looking very good. These are the big problems, and they're self-induced. We basically broke with something that wasn't anymore. And most people now cannot deny that that basically C19 and the flu, the death rates and all that. I've done a video on the UK stuff, the old statistics, and a number of other people now, and a number of this information is starting to come. And even some Western governments are actually accepting that, that basically that it isn't as bad as we initially thought. So they're acknowledging, there are a number of politicians even that are acknowledging, but they are upended with poor epidemiology, with poor approaches. They upended the entire global supply chain and the global energy system. And by doing that, they exacerbated, because already there was underinvestment in energy. And then when these 2 last years exacerbate the whole situation in terms of underinvestment, pushed it even further. And then together with food insecurity and all that, things have really come off the rails big time. So it's not looking good. And so that's the first nation in Africa that basically already has declared that they're in a really bad state. So it's unfortunate. I wish I was wrong. When I do those sort of videos, I always wish that I've overestimated things rather than underestimated things. In many cases, I find that the truth is actually worse than basically my predictions, because I try to remain within that band of being a bit more conservative in my predictions. But yeah.
Oh God, am I going to eat rice again?
Well, yourself, probably people like myself, like I'll even be living in Australia, living in New Zealand, living in Brazil or Argentina, or countries that have got a better produce far more than in many cases they consume, and they export. Those countries are going to be less vulnerable. They're going to be less vulnerable to ultimately these sort of things. So but still, it's going to be, as I said, a mixed bag depending on the country and all that. So So I'm going to say that because somebody else was asking about prepping earlier. Am I doing any prepping and all that? Look, I've got stored away like sardines and stuff like that, and certain types of products in that regard. I'm actually even contemplating getting some protein powder and storing that away. I don't know whether it's a waste of money or not at this stage. I sort of don't think that it's going to be as bad in Australia and New Zealand and places like that, but you never know what the policies of the government may be in terms of, let's spread the pain to everyone. So start exporting a lot of things and not holding things for the domestic market. And so, that can still push up the cost of things. And then, the threat of global war and all sorts of things that are, I don't think we're going to go that far, but let's not forget World War I and World War II. World War I in particular happened over pretty much an assassination, a bit of an accident, a historical accident. World War II was a bit more planned by the Third Reich, and that's why they were able to basically move much faster and take advantage of. It was a different situation because the German machine was still building up to capacity, and having the sort of the agreement with the Soviets at the time, they were able to basically move all their forces to the west, and actually that's why they had that quick success in that regard. But g'day Daniel. Yeah, so yeah, it's sort of how things could upend and how much you should prepare. I think you really need to look at your own societies and things like that. I think some societies are going to be more vulnerable than others. I think I covered a number of countries that are basically purchasing, in particular the Middle East and Southeast Asia, that do purchase from Russia and the Ukraine. A lot of they have contracts that are not going to be fulfilled. But you can actually, there's a lot of things that you can actually do. I've got sardines, I've got dried meats, I've got B vitamin complex in my drawer, but at a lower dose, because you don't want the, pantothenic acid. I buy one that it's got the lowest amount of pantothenic acid in it. So you don't want to go too high. If you have to actually use a supplement for a very long protracted period, then there's the sort of situation where you can actually buy there is canned meat. I mean, let's not forget that spam in a can and things like that. That's the really cheap type. Many of the Okinawans, actually, even the older ladies, actually still consume spam in the can. I'm not kidding you. So it's not going to be that bad. There are fermented type meats that can also store well for a very long time. So there are options. There are options there. And how much you go for the canned stuff and how much you go for the frozen stuff, that means put it in your freezer. Well, it depends on which part of the planet you're on and what your energy supply is dependent on. I live in Tasmania, which our energy is primarily produced by hydropower. So as a consequence, that's we're not going to have, the severe energy insecurity. I mean, you see blackouts on the mainland in Australia, in North America, but you don't see them really ever happening the only time that we actually get a blackout in Tasmania is when we've got really bad weather and some trees fallen down and, done some damage to, whether it's been a transformer or one of the main lines, and then it could take a couple of hours for them to reconnect the line. But it's usually, or one of the transformers blows out and they have to replace it. So it's usually things like that, or they can readjust the network slightly. But it's not as something that I have to really worry to the same degree, where other countries are more dependent on their energy from coming from fossil fuels. And that's where they're competing for gas, oil, coal, and all sorts of other inputs. And so the situation in those parts of the world may be a bit more precarious in terms of the Carnivore Traces put their candles. Yes, yeah, like things like of those sort of things that, yeah, spam, salmon, spam, a jar of pickles. Sandra's got there canned fish, canned meat, protein powder supplements. Yep. Water, iodine for the nuclear. Yep. I've actually bought myself some iodine, and I've also got iodinized salt exactly for that concern as well. Batteries, medication. Yep. I've got myself multiple packs of batteries as well. So yeah, candles, alcohol to cigarettes. Trade doesn't forget ammo. Yeah, fair enough. Well, yes, probably alcohol. Yeah, I may think about even though I've given up on it. Never know. Into the bloody world, bugger it. Cigars and alcohol. Taurine, yes, taurine, Ryan, yes,
Yep.
yes. Those are so definitely these are sort of things that we need to prep for and things like that. I do have torches. I do have candles myself. I do basically have a number of those sort of things. I've got these, those rounded large candles. They go for ages. So I've got those ones. Yeah, those sort of things are the big things. Depending on which part of the world you are, you may also be considering things like, propane wouldn't hurt. Yep, exactly. Dad's got a little unit for propane, and that wouldn't be a bad idea as well, to get something like that. So if you've got a barbecue gas, get some additional gas bottles, put them in storage. So you can always basically cook stuff on a barbecue unit outdoors. So there are a whole lot of options. It's just to give yourself as many options, considering what if, let's say, forget about, all this crisis. What if a solar flare hit directly and knocked out the grid? Do you know how many months? It takes about 18 months to 2 years to basically provide a whole lot of additional sort of capacity to the system. So to replace a lot of those transformers. A lot of those transformers are old transformers. I know that Dad actually built a number of the transformers in Tassie, and I know he's a great boilermaker welder for fine welding, because he was qualified for aerospace and things like that. So I'm hoping that those transformers are going to be more robust in Tasmania. But at the end of the day, they are still old. They are still vulnerable. And you could basically find yourself back in the 17th century very fast, back to basics. So where transformers get fried. Some countries have got spares in storage. This is why they put that satellite up there in space, to be able to detect early, so they can actually power down the actual network. So they can power down the network. So if we do get a solar flare, there's always solar flares that are coming off the. At the moment, it's probably less of a risk at the moment because there's less solar activity. It's the reason why our climate gurus are scratching their head and wondering why their models are not following, why nature is not following their models. I wonder why. So it's funny. They'll use all sorts of excuses. It's apparently due to C-19, but actually people were more indoors at the time and using far more energy and on their computers and laptops and all TVs and everything else. So that ain't it, whoever came up with that conclusion. Look, Dave, I would say, just to cover Dave's question, because I've been sitting on it for quite some time. Look, Have you seen what Bart did and the other guys? They did a priming where they actually eat excess amounts of energy and protein. So, you just stuff yourself. What you do is you drive up your metabolic rate as a kind, because you're actually building. And if you want to really stoke that, add some additional taurine, because it enhances muscle protein synthesis, because it's a myostatin inhibitor. It's a mild one, but it's still, everything counts. You can build more muscle. The more muscle you've got, the more lean body mass, so to speak, the greater your metabolic rate, the greater you will basically oxidize energy, in the mitochondria. So in your body. Also, the other nice thing about when it comes to, it also reduces the amount of lactate and actually pushes more of the pyruvate into acetyl-CoA taurine. So it has that effect as well. So you can actually clear out that's why it actually lowers blood sugar as well, which is, it really regulates everything. But it has that effect. But I would say that if you did some of what Raymond, you could contact Raymond and actually ask him how to do a proper priming, and go through the sort of the notions. There's a deck. She should be around. She's not now. She said she may be around tonight. So you could actually ask her as well. And it's sort of in a sense, it's sort of the old bodybuilders of beefing up and then basically building up muscularity and then increasing your metabolic rate and then shifting to, Bart's done OMAD for quite some time. I sort of do 2 meals a day myself because I just enjoy it. I like having a main meal and a snack. So I have a snack at about 11 o'clock and then I have a main meal at about 3 o'clock. That's me, and some coffees in between. That's how I approach it. But everybody's, going to approach it slightly different. And that's fine. I've got no problems with that. So try, and there are going to be variability, and the variability comes down to genetics and many, the ApoE phenotype and a number of other things, how much muscularity you've got, how much lean body mass, myostatin status, genetics, and, and how you manipulate that. There's a lot of different variations at the level of leucine in your diet as well to build up muscle. And the less, the minimizing, obviously, carbohydrates, anything going into your mouth. That is a big, very important one if you're going to try and lose, some fat weight, as we call it. Ah, yes, always hugs for Ted. Yes, they do. They do. Yeah, that tends to work more for men. For women, it actually, they need a bit more fat to basically get there. So, yeah, plants have medicinal properties. They definitely do. That's where they should be used, in those sort of areas. Had a friend who is doing keto since almost a year recently. He has vertigo. Any relationship with the diet? Any thoughts? Vertigo can actually be ameliorated by taurine. Funny to say. So, most people doing keto, they're under eating meat. They're under eating protein, basically. So they're not getting enough taurine. And it's usually the case. And it usually throws out a lot of things in their system, including their electrolytes and many other things. So that's usually the majority of things. People just do these generalized keto, too much fat, very little protein. Some people are recommending on the keto diet like 10%. And that's therapeutic. And it's only supposed to be done for a very short amount of time. It's just appalling in that regard.
It's terrible.
It is. But, this is the what we get out there, unfortunately. So
I,
it's
I,
never
I,
ending.
I can't even understand. Like, there's always this Strawman argument of like, oh, but being in ketosis long term. If you eat a carnivorous diet, you are going to oscillate between low and high grade ketosis daily.
But, exactly. Bart mentioned something as well that it also can be due to oxalate crystals, and that's true as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Bart. Yeah. So, but if he's doing keto, he's probably doing some plants that are also high in oxalates, so it should prevent dumping in a sense. In that regard, it's only when you go carnivore that's when you actually really tend to dump. That's when it sort of frees up. But I don't But then again, I don't know what the person's doing. What sort of carnivore diet is he? What sort of keto diet is he doing? Is it a carnivorous one? Is it a plant-based one? There's so many variations now. There's a vegan one. There's a vegetarian keto. There's so many. Keto is a sort of a general word. There's paleo keto. There's you name it. There's so many variations. So that's why I just gave you a generic answer that it's usually a meat deficiency, mostly people under eating meat, but it can be other factors as well, as Bart pointed out. You're welcome. Oops, my chat thing just went haywire. Thank you, StreamYard. Oh, there's Tracy. But you're on a carnivore diet. You're not on a keto diet, but a carnivore diet. That's why that's the sort of slight difference. When you take all plants out, you're much easier at dumping. So yeah. You missed everything. Yes. We can't tell you. We've been sworn to secrecy by Ted. Sorry, mate. That's why taurine helps as well. Ringing in the ears and any ear-related issues, fibrosis in the ears and stuff like that, or any damage in the ears, because they did those experiments where they deliberately caused damage to the ears of mice and then gave them high dosages and they fixed it. So, and they've actually done it in, I think there was one study that did it in some sort of monkey as well. So it's been done in a number of things. All mammals are the same. All mammals, when I can actually quite clearly, I don't feel uncomfortable about using, when it comes to taurine, using even animal research when it comes to these sort of conditions. And the reason is because it's so ancient. It predates humans. It comes from the early origins of life, taurine. And the species that have got the highest amount of the little crustaceans and organisms around vents in the oceans. So it is so ancient, it regulated cell pressure. That was its first role. So as far as I'm concerned, throughout the whole, obviously there's going to be some slight genetic differences in the way it's utilized in some regards, but in some of the general features of when it comes to antifibrotic features, it works the same way in humans. We've seen in human studies and in animal studies. It's got an antifibrotic effect. And usually a lot of this fibrosis and stuff is primarily, we notice it's part of the myth, works within the methylation and also the detoxification pathways. And you see it in other animals and in humans. So it's pretty much well established in the literature in that regard. Yes. Things improve when you eat a steak or two, basically. That's really what it is, Freshly slaughtered, the best. Yeah, they are quite deep. They are, especially off Japan, the eastern seaboard of Japan. It just goes down for kilometers. There's a couple of areas around Australia as well that just go down for kilometers as well, very deep. So yeah, it's primarily in the Pacific Ocean, these areas. It's where they call it the Rim of Fire that goes all round, and there's this big plate, the Pacific Plate. And in some areas, because it's slightly, what do they call? It's pushing under one of the other plates and pushing in another direction on the other place, and it's slightly on an angle. And so in some areas, it's extremely deep. And yeah, they have gone. I think I can't remember. There's an underwater vehicle that I can't remember whether it was the Russian or the American one that actually went the deepest. I think initially, for a long time, it was the Russian one that had gone the deepest because they were using really high quality titanium steel and stuff like that. Even their nuclear subs could go deeper, like the Alpha, and a few others could go deeper than. I can't remember. Was it the other one that was the Akula class? But pretty much some of the actual civilian type ones can go very deep, especially the modern ones. And I think they actually have found at certain levels, and from some of their own measurements, they know that they took some samples, but how much? It's hard to say, but definitely around vent areas, there is far more life. There's, like if you've got underwater vents, there's a lot of life around, both plant and animal life in those deep areas. And it does vary from area to area. So there's quite a lot of, even in those depths where you'd say, so such remote areas, there's still quite a lot of diversity of life in those areas. So quite interesting. One of my pet little things that I, look into, out of other things.
Deep sea life, chemotrophic organisms.
Yeah, things like that. I hear everything. Oh, Ted's. You're not spying on me, Ted. Oh God, can't control that. That yellow fellow.
You must comply with Ted's new government.
Exactly. He's in bed with Jacinda. Hard jab.
Yeah.
They're good friends, apparently.
Yeah.
God, no wonder. Bart is suffering so much.
Yes, taxing the ruminant farts. That was Ted's idea.
It would have definitely been, they sort of say that, but there's a bit of truth in it, but not an absolute truth. It depends on what you mean by explored. When you actually, look at the petrochemical industry and the amount of exploration around the world, different deposits and stuff like that, like the subsurface, and for mineral, oil, gas deposits, we've done far more exploration. We know quite a bit. We've got like global maps on stuff like that. But if you talk about vegetation, animal species and stuff like that, yeah, that's probably far less. It's probably even less than 10% that we've actually if you're talking about the actual segment by segment, how many square kilometers have we looked at and what sort of species have we found, it's probably even less than 10% of that. So it depends, in that regard. But yeah, it's we still don't know a lot about a lot of things on planet Earth. Let's put it that way. We act as experts when our level of knowledge is quite low on a lot of subject matters, Dean. It's unfortunate. It's the arrogance of man, as I call it. But yes, I wonder if Billy ever took Greta to Fantasy Island. Maybe. Oh, you're not spreading rumors, Tracy, are you? You
Oh God, Tracy, that's so
God,
cursed.
goddamn witch.
Mm.
But you never know. You never know. Apparently, somebody was saying that caused ruffles in the relationship, in his ex-relationship.
Oh,
Somebody,
ah,
well, they were
yeah.
saying, I've got no idea. I'm not basically saying yes or no. Got no idea,
Mhm.
but apparently that created a lot of problems in a number of families of people that were associated to Epstein. You know what I mean? So yes, you never know. But obviously, without proof, we can't claim anything or say anything. Hopefully, more of those women that were basically involved will come out and actually elucidate or tell us more about what really happened, because there's still a lot that we don't know. These people just basically, are quite evil people, exploit and use people left, right, and center, and then arrogantly sit around lecturing the rest of us.
Yep. Oh God, this is a bit off topic, but I was gonna ask you, Harry. So, do you think the widely accepted view of the origin of fossil fuels is correct? Uh, because some people they say that there is this possibility of, like, for example, oil being actually naturally occurring from like mineral processes. They say it's not related to like dead life or something of the sort, but I actually think that's a rabbit hole that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It doesn't. Now there is is there carbon in the environment that is not basically related to animal? Yes, a bit, but not much. It can't account for the stuff that we get.
Yep.
It just can't account. And most of the other stuff that is in there is basically minerals that were produced in stars,
Mm-hmm.
and those sort of components, under pressure, they crystallize. It's a completely different thing. The
Yep.
structures, the atomic structures, the way they function, their functional characteristics compared to organic carbon life. It's definitely come from. It's pretty much most of these deposits are old forests, old
Mm-hmm.
plant life that was, due to tectonic plate movements and stuff like that, ended up in greater depths, and in those greater depths under greater pressure, developed into different types of hydrocarbons. Basically, if you go very different depths, you'll get things like that are more gaseous, which is natural gas. You go to different depths, you'll get something which is more fluid type. At other elevations, you'll get more shale type, which is more like a stone type, where you have to mine it. It's a very different sort of, or in the case, sand pits where it's combined with sand, like in Canada, or the shale stuff that is at certain depths where you can't mine it very easily. Then they basically put high pressure, steam into those sort of things to liquefy it, and then extract it that way. So there's all these different processes. I mean, I don't claim that I'm an expert in the petrochemical industry. Let's put it that way. I'm not that's not my field of expertise. I do know some general stuff about it, yes, but that's pretty much. God, he's really got you under control, isn't he? Nonsense. All hail Ted. Freaking hell. So you're paying back. It's all payback, isn't it? There are the ones reporting the professor and Dr. Baker. So they're going after Sean Baker as well, are they? Doesn't surprise me. I think most people have realised, and even I to some extent have realised that my future is probably not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be elsewhere at some point. It's unfortunate that this is happening, but it seems like YouTube here want to basically have a very commercialised and very pro-vegan type, platform. And that's sort of the way they're going on a lot of things and limiting the ability for other channels to grow and other people to grow. They're really pushing hard on this agenda. And as I said, we're going to go down Pottinger's cat in a bigger way, and we're going to see more health problems in the long run before we basically realize how we got duped and how bad an idea that was. And a lot of people are going to suffer quite a bit as a consequence. And when they do go down that path where you've got less accessibility to animal foods, it's going to be much harder to help people, much harder, because the options are going to be far more limited. We'll be out there basically selling powders, protein powders and other things, telling them, encouraging them to take those sort of things in order to get, some sort of reasonable without the anti-nutrients, and then try and actually recreate a sort of an animal-based diet with a bit here and a bit there, which will still be better than the kibble nonsense that they'll be on, but it'll be way from optimal, so it's not a future that I am looking forward to, where, just take a look. The steakhouses all booked out at Davos. Tells you everything how these people want everything from themselves and to limit what the rest of us. It's like they want to degenerate the human race and have a caste system. No different than in India, where it was for a very long time. There was a caste system of vegetarian, poor, shorter, and northerners were much taller, bigger, part of the Indo-European group that dominated India. So we're seeing something at a global level of it being instituted at the moment, which is quite horrendous what is happening. Yep, they definitely are. Yeah, the way they're going, they are really making things. Food security is really becoming bad globally, but some parts of the world far worse than others. So it's going to create massive upheaval. These people don't realize that they're unleashing forces they can't control. It's going to be an absolute bloody mess in the next couple of years, what they've created. Yeah, I do fear the situation in the US. It's a country that I've basically said, if there's a country, an industrialized, developed country that is susceptible to potential civil war, it's not Russia, it's the US. And it's a worrying thing. It's a really worrying thing.
It just reminded me that this is a election year here in Brazil. So yeah, bunch of the next months are going to be really interesting. And
and the thing is, from what I've looked at on all sides of politics, I don't see solutions. Nobody's coming up with really good solutions. It's all basically the blaming the other side.
Yep.
Or basically saying that they can do it better, but without any solution whatsoever. And when they do get into power, they basically just do the same thing. They're not doing anything new. If you want to basically fix the thing, well, you need to basically set up a government corporation to basically fund or these sort of traditional energy sources, base load energy, and get it going again, because the private sector isn't doing that. It's too virtual signaling at the moment before the crisis, and these sort of things. But I don't see it happening. I think things are going to get far worse before people wake up, and they may not even wake up with the right solutions. They may wake up even with more draconian and crazy solutions, which is even far more worrying.
Yeah, after the last couple years, I just realized that a lot of people, they would actually want their own slave method. They would actually be very fine with it.
Oh, look! A lot of people have grown up in this new cultural sort of paradigm where they're more susceptible to sort of thinking in that way and just following the rules. Being told what to do, being we'll just print more money and we'll just hand you a cash full of money. Stay in your little kibble environment and do what you're told, and and you'll be safe. And most of them don't have a backbone anymore, because we've been on a kibble culture for so long.
Yes.
You've basically got it at the emasculation of the whole society. You've got a weaker society, a society that's more feeble, frail, weak, scared, and that's another problem in itself.
Like, Harry, the other day I was looking at what they teach in nutrition courses these days for weaning babies.
Mm.
It's downright absurd. Like, it's like vegetable soups and things of this. I'm like,
Precisely.
this is
It's
not
crazy.
this is not child. It's like
It's
food for
child
children.
abuse.
Yeah, it's
It's child
abuse.
abuse.
There's like no bioavailable nutrition at all. It's like there's nothing there.
People don't realize that bile, in order to be able to absorb things, this is why you get so much bile from your mother. When you're born, you basically get bile, shitloads of bile from your mother. It's quite clear why you get it. You get it basically because it actually helps you absorb nutrients. It helps tighten the tight junctions within, from the taurine within your system. It helps regulate the gut microbiome. It does all those sort of things. And when you take those nutrients away, that's why breast milk has all those. Has growth factors as well. That's fine. It is a growing child after all. But it also has a whole lot of the other nutrients that are really important in regulating brain growth. Taurine is essential, and a whole lot of other animal peptides and nutrients in the animal foods are essential for brain development and health. They are going to cause disasters, but maybe they don't care. They just want basically dumb individuals that basically will just do tasks.
And and you just have all these people talking about saving all the animals and valuing animals' lives, and how about human life?
I think they've given up on human life completely and utterly. We're not important. Our species is definitely not important in the eyes of some of these lunatics. Bart's got a TikTok thing, Harvey. You see, the word. But mate, do you want me to be banned? I can't show that. You should know that. Ted, get you under control. Get him under control.
Here he comes with the with
Ah.
the random names.
That's what we want, a virtual signaling. People can actually go and check that short little video out. But yes,
God.
yes. Let alone those are the short videos. You tend to basically also get strikes, like copyright strikes, which is awful. So I can't show them, but you know what? I'll end up with a copyright strike. So remember that. Anyway, everybody's had a bit of fun. Talked about a lot of this sort of stuff. I'm going to pull the plug soon because
Someone was asking you about garlic. I can't.
Garlic.
Yeah, they were asking if it's safe. If it's safe to consume.
Yeah, look, it's probably, look, it has compounds that seem to be associated with certain things. Some of the sulfur in there can have some benefits. If you're not getting sulfur from other sources, the body is like a Swiss Army knife, is able to use that. There are some anti-nutrients, not as many as some other plants. It does also seem to have some compounds that seem to have some sort of hormesis. But do you really need that sort of stuff? Not really. Not really. Protect the yellow bears.
Yes. The retinol bears.
Well, exactly. I mean, I agree with Ted on that. You know, basically, bald man, you've been abusing yellow bears for far too long, and you deserve everything that happened to you. So don't give me this sort of shit. What are you doing, Harilos? Don't give me that shit. So you bear abuser. God, they should lock you. Oh, that's right. They have got you caged. Did you get out of your cage and escape again? Bloody hell. I'll have to email Pim and say, what the hell is happening? Why aren't better controls being placed on this man? What's Tracy saying? Eat saffron so we can all be yellow like Ted. That'd be right. And if you're Irish, eat plenty of carrots, and then you'll go also yellowy, orangey. You'll be at least closer to what nice one. Bear abuser. Now you know why I love my subscribers. They've got a witty sense of humor.
Yep.
Yes, very much. And perfectly said. We'll finish on that. Yes, dumb individuals are easily controlled, and that is exactly it. Precisely, And yes, Tracy. Yes, he loves a bit of celery whipping. He definitely loves a bit of celery whipping. Yes. Apparently, also insertions of different plant compounds seem to also excite both of them. So
yes, they love playing the game where they have to figure out which plant it is.
Yes. It's like Ted and Bart, hide the cucumber. He's got another one of me. Which one's this one? This will be the final one. I got 14 minutes to get somewhere. Oh, that's it. Oh, we'll finish with it. We'll finish off with that one. We'll have Ted see us out. Get your carotene.
Yes.
Suck on a carrot.
Carrots and beets and carrots. That's what you should have for breakfast. Delicious. Carrots and beets and carrots. Just making sure you heard.
I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. That way. There we are. Oh, yes, you're looking very lovely too, darling.
Get your carotene in. Get your carotene. You're looking lovely, darling. I'll have to grow a beard next week. You're welcome, Tracy. You're welcome. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We're well past the 3-hour mark. Appreciate it. It was a lively, interesting, very different live stream compared to some of my others. But I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it. A bit of very little information, but it was a lot of laughs at least. Sometimes it's nice to unwind and, just let down your hair a bit, and because the world is the way it is, sometimes we need to laugh at it as well.
Absolutely.
Don't lose faith, guys. Don't lose faith. Stick with a species appropriate diet. Stick with our approach. Try and get the message out there to people. And all of us can do a bit here and there. Sometimes we, contacting politicians, contacting certain people, putting a pressure. It's not the silent majority that runs society. It's small pressure groups. Believe me, it's always been small pressure groups that basically put the majority, that set agendas and stuff like that. We have to set agendas. We have to stop the vagoonerized community setting the agenda, and we need to start setting the agenda, because otherwise things aren't going to get any better. And we can't sit around complaining and saying, oh, this and that. We need to basically phone your local politicians, your state politicians, your federal politicians, if you're in a federated state, whatever political structure your society is, and keep nagging at them, sending stuff, getting people in social media to nag them and all that. Because as long as they basically can hear another voice, they're going to sort of move closer to the center and away from the other virtual minority signaling group. And that's better than nothing. Getting them back closer to the center is going to be far better than basically having them at the other extreme. So that's important that we do that, and it's on us as well. The world doesn't change on its own. Believe me, it doesn't. So take care, look after yourselves, look after your families. Do some light prepping at least, so you're in a position just in case things really go a bit haywire, because there's always in some societies, especially in bigger cities, there can be a civil disturbance, and you may not be able to access certain types of foods for a period of time, a number of days or whatever, until things are quietened down again. So it's always a good idea to have some stuff, in storage just in case. So keep that in mind. Take care. And I will see many of you in about 4 hours' time. Well, the rest of you that are probably going to be fast asleep, you can actually watch it in your own leisurely time next week. The Eurasian live stream will be on in about 4 hours and 10 minutes. Anyway, see us from me, and I'll let Lukey see us out.
Yes, keep fighting the good fight, everyone. And as I like to say every so often, if their propaganda was all powerful, if they weren't worried about us fighting back, they wouldn't use so much propaganda.
Thank you.
So stay well, everyone.
See you guys. And thanks, Sandra.